Chapter 87. Hinata had to admit, giving classes at the academy every so often wasn't so bad. At the least, the view from the bay-facing windows was nice, looking out over the sea, and in the distance one could just make out Uzushio's main island. They really needed to get around to naming them all. Behind her, Onoka was finishing up a drawing for a seal diagram for the class of 30 students, while off to the side Irika watched on in silence. So, here you can see this particular array is built in order to combine several disciplines at once. Earth manipulation, seal matrix destabilization, and shape manipulation. In turn, this would allow anyone to carve their way through a traditional earthen wall or, say, a castle's defensive perimeter. All with minimal chakra use. Onoka was smiling as she looked out over the class, they were all listening with such rapt attention. It was kinda exciting, but this also has civilian use. Become proficient with these types of skills and you could find yourself a major boon to any mining or construction company on the planet. From tunnel digging to foundation excavation. The only limitation would be your own imagination. Several hands rose, and Onoka pointed to a boy no older than probably 11. A few years from graduation then. But, Uzumaki-sensei, why would we need to worry about how to use seals or any of our techniques outside of battle? What's the point? Walking back to stand next to Onoka, Hinata offered to answer in her stead. Raising a finger laden with chakra and activating her Byakugan, she grinning internally at the gasps from the group, you should always be thinking ahead. One day you may not be able to fight anymore. Or maybe you'll find you don't have the stomach for it. You'll want skills that have multiple uses then, won't you? Even the Hataru, pride they have for their all-seeing eye and gentle fist, can also trade those talents for acupuncture and physical therapy. Dispelling her technique and motioning back to Onoka, Hinata offered another perspective for the ninja hopefuls. One day the world will have no need for us warriors. And we will need to trade our swords and kunai for shovels and garden tools once more. It is only until then, we build upon these skills in order to defend ourselves and our people. Understand? The same boy crossed his arms, a frown on his face, I guess Uzumaki-sama. It's just, what's the point then? If the world is going to be peaceful, do we really need to study and learn all this? Onoka nodded sagely as Hinata giggled, well, it's true that Uzushio is striving for peace. But just as true is the opposite. Having techniques and skills that can be used for multiple use cases can only help you in the long run. Seals for storage or even teleportation, now used to make transport of goods and people easier. Nature manipulation, to better increase farming yields or assist in fishing. Again, you think it, you can make it happen. Plus, we may be called upon to defend our home, and you'll want to be prepared for such, won't you? A girl this time, thick glasses and round chubby cheeks, raised her hand this time. Does that mean one day Uzushio will have no need for ninja forces? Onoka answered once more, well, that's the goal. One day our profession won't be needed. And really, that's just fine if you think about it. Or maybe it'll change into something different. Require different skills or abilities. Sharing a look with Hinata, the other woman continued. With time comes change. Samurai once were the power of the land. Next came ninja and their special techniques. What comes after ninja? Well, who knows really? Our hope is that with peace and a dwindling need for war, military power around the world will reduce. Winking at the students, Hinata leaned back against the wall while crossing her arms over her midriff, unless something else comes along and forces a regression. Onoka took the reins once more, which is why we train. Us, and you. Everything we have learned till now will be passed on to all of you. Tools for the next generation so that even though we hope for peace, you will always be prepared. Another hand rose, and Onoka pointed to a girl with a prideful smile on her face. My father says Uzushio could rule the world one day. So does that mean we'll get to shape how things run in other villages soon? Irika raised his voice slightly, preempting more questions. Let's remember everyone, this is a class for intermediate seal use and application, we can keep the politics for other lessons. Onoka shakes her head slowly as she gets the message to wrap this up, oh no. While Uzushio has strength and talent, we would never push for something like that. Onoka slapped a hand back to the board, making all of the students jump. Peace means also the ability for everyone to have their own free will. Forcing others to change is not our way. We offer options, incentives, a goal. But we won't force anyone to see our way as the only way. Well, not unless they force us. They would of course reference Iwa one day. She'd have to remember that that village had attacked them first, forcing them to put them down as quickly as possible. Sharing a look with Hinata as the class conversed back and forth, Anoka clapped her hands to regain their attention. Now, let's continue with the lecture. Seal modification and simple relay circuits. Below the academy and deep within the fortress, Naruto was walking along with Mei and Karen, being led along by Tsuyoshi of the Zosensho. Naruto had been told they had a ship to show off to him and that he should come and see it when he had the time. Well, recently he had nothing but time. As they came out from the fortress itself to the enclosed port, they could all see the massive flat-topped ship as soon as they walked out into the beehive of activity. Naruto could tell it looked a lot like the carriers from the Land of Sky, only much, much larger. Tsuyoshi was already holding a hand out in the ship's direction, a wide smile on his face. We took great inspiration from the carrier group that attacked us. Through our salvage and research of the remains, the ships are a versatile platform that give many options and can be equipped for different roles. This model, slated to be the largest, is going to be our Maelstrom class of carriers. Featuring a total displacement of 90,000 tons, 3 screws for propulsion and electric motors powered by a truly revolutionary power generation system built upon Naruto-sama's own explosive seals. With a total crew complement reaching into the 1,500, but fully loaded can reach roughly 2,500 people, not counting cargo hold space and deck space. We thought a carrier would be Uzushio's greatest asset in the protection of our shipping lanes and territorial waters. Seeing the man pause as they continue to walk the length of the ship along the dock, Mei has a hand to her chin as she considers the nearly 300-meter ship. Something like this, force projection is well and good, but I don't see any real armaments at all. Does Uzushio or any of our allies really need something like this? We aren't looking to provoke the start of a new series of wars after all. Tsuyoshi nods and agrees. He may not be under Mei's direction anymore, but he could respect her as a leader. That Naruto-sama had apparently wooed her helped out, of course. Originally, there had been some thought to building a great battleship first, to better protect Uzushio from threats. But, after some thought and the invasion from Sky, we came to a different conclusion. We wanted something large that could not only transport troops and equipment, but also aid supplies and relief support efforts. Tsuyoshi paused as they came to about mid-ship, where a gangplank waited to allow them on board. Could Uzushio project force with this vessel? Sure. But will we? Well, Naruto-sama has led me to believe it is not our mission, and I've chosen to believe him. Tsuyoshi motioned further down the dock, to the construction zone where they could all see several more ships in different states of readiness, 2 of which looked nearly complete. We have 2 supporting frigates we wish to launch with the Maelstrom as well, built on the idea that this small fleet of 3 ships will defend Uzushio along with offering aid to our allies and those in need. Naruto was grinning as he stared up at the massive steel construction that bore his bingo book designation. We are meant to be peacekeepers, not conquerors. I like it. Karen has a different focus, mind latching onto something Tsuyoshi had said. The power source, how exactly does it work? Are we talking diesel or some other oil-based engine assembly like most other large ships? That the man answered her with a loud bellow laugh didn't faze her. She wanted answers. A ship this grand? No, Lady Uzumaki. Thanks to some tech salvaged from the ruins of the Land of Sky Fortress, and one of Naruto-sama's seals, we are instead harnessing the very energy released from the breakdown of heavy metal fuel. Naruto blinks, before a chuckle leaves his throat. You repurposed my V2 bomb. Precisely. Tsuyoshi ignored the astonished looks on Karen and Mei's faces. We needed your help to slow down the process, and it took a little work to modify to Land of Sky energy converters to accept the raw energy to output electricity. But we did it. You're now looking at a ship capable of powering a small city in an emergency. As a bonus, refueling is only needed once every 4 to 5 years, unless we use it as an emergency power source. Nearly vibrating in place, Karen had more ideas for such a power station. Can I see the blueprints? We could modify our own land-based power stations with this easily. Just think of the possibilities. What are the drawbacks? Tsuyoshi scrubbed a hand through his hair, a truly excessive amount of heat. We use it to boil water and power further steam generators for auxiliary uses, including 2 launch catapults. With that in mind, a land-based power station near the coast would have no sweat in operating long-term. Karen hums at that. Okay, so coastal power stations, so Suna probably can't benefit from this. But Uzushio, Spring, Kiri, could all stand to gain from this. Oh, didn't you say you had another something to show us? Already waving them onto the ship, Tsuyoshi nodded. Yes, thanks to the new power generator, we came up with a few airplane designs we'd like you to take a look at. Mei walked along beside Naruto as they walked into the belly of the beast, so to speak. Kiri could certainly use something like this. Our shipping lanes are always being harried by pirates and the like. Sadly, Lady Mei, the Maelstrom class of ships will not be for sale. However, with Naruto-sama's okay, we may construct smaller carrier ships that can be sold. Tsuyoshi's answer came quickly and professionally. Mei turned to Naruto. Oh dear, rolling his eyes, Naruto nudged the woman in the side. We'll have a chat about it later. Either way, you know Yuzashio won't leave Kiri in the lurch if you need a hand. I appreciate that. Mei leaned in and kissed him on the cheek, flushing as his arm snaked around her middle. So, about these airplanes. Naruto followed behind Tsuyoshi, ducking into the oval-shaped access door, just behind Karen. Guess they still had a lot going on. The interior of the ship was a beehive of activity still. He'd be busy for the rest of the day, most likely then. Scene change: evening falls on Yuzashio, the sun having long set but the air remaining warm and humid. For the Uzumaki clan relaxing in their shared bath, this was a wonderful outcome. Well, it would be if their clan head wasn't off and avoiding the mass of women. It is Kikyo who sits carefully between a content Kodoheim and a happy Yuka that brings up his absence. Where has Lord Naruto gotten to? Huffing and leaning against Tayuya with her hair tied up, Ino motions back towards the house, out seeing to Suta's training. Something about making sure Suta had a well-adjusted manly aura. Rolling her eyes, she ignores the girly giggling around her. Kikyo sighs and relaxed further as one of the younger girls passes around drinks, Uzumaki men and their oddities. But, Suta is the only boy. He should spend some time with Lord Naruto. She would have preferred some older blood as well. But she had tried, and failed, to convince Shokiro off of his path. Stubborn men. The lot of them. I suppose there are some habits I hope he doesn't pick up. Sayuri floated by with a smile on her face. There are a few habits that I hope he does pick up as well. Suta was like everyone's cute little brother. Well, except for Kikyo, she treated him like a son for sure. Hinata looks ready to defend Naruto and his various habits, but is distracted by the sliding door opening. Expecting to see Naruto and Suta there, she and everyone else are surprised to see Koyuki and her group, back from their travels. Koyuki. Naruko is already holding up a hand. Yo. It sure felt good to be home. Koyuki slid into the water next to Hinata, watching Shine join her on Hinata's other side as she accepted a drink from one of the other women. It is so wonderful to be back home. No more long trips for me for a while. She accepted a hug from Hinata easily, happy to see her fellow sister wives. So, what have we missed? We'll update you all as well. Tayuya is the first to speak up, pointing a finger back at them. You were gone, what have y'all done first? How much did Naruko blow up? I'm not that bad. Naruko pouted as she relaxed in the warm waters with Fu, though she wouldn't admit just how close to the truth they were. She was just overzealous. Yeah. Koyuki sighs and Shine giggles. Thankfully the eastern continent is in one piece. We were able to secure the lands of vegetables and birds to our side before we decided to pull back and return home. Koyuki looked around for Naruto. The main reason they had to return at all, we heard some interesting rumors. Tayuya nods. Well, yeah. Naruto will update you with the specifics, but we had some excitement here ourselves. A couple of invasion attempts. Iwa is now our vassal state. And Kumo is gone. No ninja village left to talk about. Seeing the four women stare at her blankly, Tayuya launches into a full retelling of everything that had happened while they had been away. From Iwa's attempt and Naruto killing their Jinchuriki and Kage. To Kumo's return and attempt to invade. Along with the Raikage's death and B's capture. Then of course, Kumo's destruction. Koyuki hummed in thought as Tayuya finished up her retelling of the last few weeks. Hand cradling her swelling belly, she silently gave thanks for the warm waters on her ankles. Well, good to know we returned when we did. I'll have some words for Naruto and his antics. Making more work for me like this. I just know the lightning daimyo is going to be raising a fuss. And Stone. Ugh, that old man never knows when to shut up. Karen is the one to speak up next, watching Tayuya relax back against Ino. It wasn't like Naruto had much of a choice anymore. He really did try. Holding up a hand to stall any further words, Koyuki shared a look with everyone. I'm not against what Naruto did. No. I approve. I just wish it didn't lead to more work. Rather, I wish the various daimyo had reigned in their kage. Hinata poked her fellow wife in the side. Perhaps it's time to delegate some of the work to others then? Stop traveling for a time in order to rest at home with family? Nodding at her side, Cheyenne leaned forward to look at Koyuki. She's right, you know. While our travels were fruitful and necessary, from here we can put together diplomatic teams and let them work for us from here. The word is out that Yuzushio is making friends and building alliances. We don't need to go out personally anymore. Groaning and relaxing back, Koyuki nods. I know. I like to have control. I want to know it's going exactly how I want. Ino giggled, gonna have to give up the reins sooner or later. Koyuki could accept that. Well, she was sure she could eventually. I just hope those old men clinging to power don't cause more problems later down the road. Tayuya shrugs. Well, we can worry about old men and diplomacy later. We have more important matters to update you on now. Tayuya points directly at Hinata, who blushes a bit. Starting with that little rabbit next to you. Hinata took in Cheyenne and Koyuki looking at her expectantly, while across the way, she could see Naruto and Fu watching her as well. Nodding quickly, Hinata pushed her fingers together in her nervous tick she still couldn't completely get rid of. I'm pregnant. Twins. Cheyenne was already hugging her tightly, while Koyuki clapped happily. She was happy at the attention, if a little embarrassed. Koyuki is instead looking towards a content-looking Anoka. I'm actually surprised. I was sure you would be next. Anoka gave her a thumbs up. Oh, don't you worry. I'm not far behind. Just wait and see. Activating her eyes for a moment, Hinata smirks and relaxing back into Cheyenne's hug. Be careful what you wish for Anoka. Naruto stretches her arms up above her head. So, where is my idiot brother? Out training Suda out on the ground somewhere. Ino was still irritated. She wanted to train the little snot too. That's so. Naruto is already standing from the water, sharing a quick kiss with Fu. Maybe I'll just go and see about this, just in case. Patting away quickly, Fu sighs and readies herself to potentially intervene. Looking around, it's Temari who finally notes the missing member of the group. What happened to Mei? Koyuki perks up at the mention of the other Kage. Mei was here? Karen nods. Yeah, but after our inspection of the Zosencho's ship today, Naruto had to take her and her guards back to Kiri. I would have liked to spend some time with her. Mei is fun. Koyuki meant it as well. Mei gave her such wonderful ideas. I'm sure Naruto will flash you over there anytime you want. Karen assures her fellow wife as the conversations mellow out some, though Sayuri is floating her way. So, about Naruto-sama. Unable to finish her thought, the ground rumbles and shakes as they all can hear an explosion nearby. All conversations cease, until they can hear cackling over the air. Oh ho ho ho, you call that an explosion, boy? Here, let me help you. You crazy bitch. He's a kid. Take it easy. He's an Uzumaki, ain't he? He'll be Fiyin. Now come on. Show auntie what you got. Another explosion, and all eyes turned first to Fu and then to Hinata. Fu was already pulling herself out of the water. We just got here. She couldn't wait till the morning at least? Hinata nodded and rose to follow after her. Let's wrangle those two and have a word with them. It was looking to be another long night in the Uzumaki compound. Scene change, walking along in the forest surrounding his home, Naruto gave thanks for an easy weekend-long parties. Jacket off with the warm weather coming, he walked with his hands in his pockets as he considers everything that had happened over the last week. Kurama was the first to laugh at him. Anoka is pregnant finally. Quintuplets. The seed is strong indeed. Sighing but nodding along, Naruto curses his luck. Well, she sure got what she wished for. And I don't think we're ever getting a grand party like that out of the city again. I'm pretty sure no work got done at all. Blame your genetics. No contest there. I'm sure Anoka will be trying to kill me later once her body starts to change. What was it you said? Oh yes. You're sturdy, you'll be fine. I take it back. I'm going to die at this rate. A hand came up, scrubbing through his scalp and longer hair. Twin Bangs entered and left his vision. Coward. You want to take care of a bunch of kids? Not my job. I'm turning you into a plush toy. You wouldn't. Kurama turned pleading eyes to his partner. Please? Don't tempt me. They both shared a chuckle as Naruto continued to walk along. It had been nice to have a simple week. Missions were steady if simple. Wave and their shipping empire was doing well. Their population was still growing, but now they had confirmed Rain had begun to receive some aid finally. With that, several more airships were under construction as well. It really did seem like life was much easier now that Kumo and Iwa were no longer issues. If I had known things would be this simple, I would have gotten rid of Kumo and Iwa sooner. Kurama settles down in his mindscape. There's also the chance things would have been different if you had struck down those villages sooner. Maybe the world really would have seen you as a power-hungry tyrant then. That's a good point too. Naruto hums as they come upon the clearing holding Zetsu's seal matrix. The statue undisturbed and unchanged. Guess on to our next order of business for now. Flashing away instead to the island where he had saved Onoka and later fought Yujito, Naruto touches down on volcanic rock and open land. Time for Killer Bee's reckoning, is it? Naruto nods, yeah. Taking a deep breath to steady himself, he summoned the scroll holding the Kumo Jinchuriki. It was with a negligent toss that saw the scroll unravel and be dumped carelessly onto the rocky ground. Bleeding and gasping for air, Naruto moved to make sure the other man didn't die right away. Rinnegan activating, he summoned the giant head of the Hell Path, eating Bee's body in order to heal him before spitting his refreshed self back on the rock. With a smirk, Naruto walked up to the weakened Killer Bee. Welcome back to the land of the living. I should be dead. Gasping for breath, Killer Bee looked up to Naruto from his sprawled-out place on the ground. You should have killed me. Haven't ruled that out yet. Not that it matters. You're about as much of a threat to me right now as a newborn. Naruto put his hands to his hips as he stood over the downed ninja. Have an idea of why I kept you alive? Chuckling despite himself and what he felt, Bee nodded, for my Biju of course. What other reason would you have to spare me? Well, certainly isn't for this witty banter, I suppose. Naruto shrugged as Bee dragged himself into a sitting position. You could have walked away from this, you know? You had the power. I never would have abandoned my home. And now it's gone, because of this foolishness. How does that make you feel? Watching Bee freeze in place, he didn't have to reach out with his senses to know the anguish that rolled through Bee's mind. It wasn't a question of if the man cared about his people, but more, he hadn't cared enough to see the bigger picture. They're all gone then? Bee looked down to the ground, not wanting to see the face of the cubic container. Everyone? Yes, no survivors. Bee knew he had no right to be any sort of remorseful or angry about Karui. Sure, he knew. Always knew she was his. Of course he never made an effort to reach out to her. To really teach her outside of some few sword skills. To show her some type of fatherly affection. She had been a constant reminder of just what he had done, of the monsters that Kumo was willing to become. But still. The knowledge that she was gone and on Naruto's orders. Did they suffer? Shaking his head, Naruto decided to throw the man a bone. It would have been more or less instant. They shouldn't have felt a thing. Small mercy, I suppose. Bee sat there, arms limp at his sides as Naruto stood before him. For what it's worth, I wished for things to be different. Frowning, Naruto finally stepped forward to put a hand to Bee's forehead, not enough to actually make a change. And then the world shifted, both men finding themselves within Bee's seal and mindscape. Behind them, Gyuki stood there silently behind the bars of his prison. Naruto was quick to bow before the Biju. Sorry we had to meet this way, Gyuki. There was no other way. A pause as the ancient mass of chakra considered what it wanted to say. You are a bit foolish, but I suppose I can forgive it due to the eventual outcome. Gyuki steadfastly did not make eye contact with Bee, focused only on the Uzumaki intruder. You'll be releasing me then? Naruto nods, that's the plan. Though I'd like to ask you for a bit of a favor. Gyuki tilted his massive head for a moment before nodding once. Some of my chakra then? I can part with that. A small price really for someone who holds true to their ideals. Bee stands, taking a step towards his longtime partner, Gyuki. Gyuki however tapped the bars holding him in place with a tentacle, causing the space to shudder and forcing Bee to stop. So how about it, Naruto boy? Let me out of here? I'd like to find a new place to rest out in the real world if you don't mind. Getting the hint that Gyuki didn't want anything to do with Bee, Naruto nodded, sure thing. Want me to send you off somewhere? With barely a thought, white chains erupted from his arms, wrapping themselves around the bars of Gyuki's cell and eroding them away quickly. Getting this over with quickly would only help him. Gyuki stood and brushed through the crumbling remains of his jail with ease, bringing a tentacle forward and pressing it into Naruto's chest in order to transfer some chakra. I think I'll hang around Uzushio until you've finished with your little task. After that? Who knows, the world is a large and beautiful place. I'm sure I can find somewhere to enjoy some peace and quiet for a time. Eyes finally trailing to the quiet container that he had once trusted, Gyuki sighed and turned away from them both. I think some time away from humanity will do me some good. Understanding Gyuki's pain, Naruto turned to be slowly as the man directed his gaze down to the dark floor. You know, most don't survive their biju being ripped out of them. That is probably for the best. I don't deserve to live after everything I've done. Dying and joining his comrades sounded good right about now. Sighing, Naruto pulled himself free of B's mindscape, standing back as with a roar of violent chakra Gyuki freed himself from B's destroyed seal and body. Strength difference aside, it was always humbling standing before a fully revealed biju. Gyuki didn't say anything once he reformed and stared down at Naruto and the gasping B, but the ground shook and rumbled as he rushed to the waters around the island and dove into the surf. To where Naruto probably wouldn't know, but he did say he would stick around in the meantime. Turning his eyes to the gasping bee, Naruto noted that while severely weakened, he certainly wasn't dead or dying. Looks like Gyuki still had something of a soft spot for you. Groaning and laying on his back, B considered that. I'm so weak now. Yup, welcome to life without a biju, I suppose. Naruto walked forward, slapping a hand to B's right arm in order to place a seal there to burn harshly into his flesh. Consider this island your new home. You can't leave, the seal won't let you. Use this time to think about what you've done, and maybe repent. Chuckling and shaking his head as he ignored the pain in his arm, B looked up to the sky. What's stopping me from biting off my own tongue? Ending it all now? Here Naruto finally shrugged as he turned away from the Kumo ninja. Guess you could, for what good it would do you. It would definitely show you to be a real coward, I suppose. That you'd rather run away to death rather than face the consequences of your actions. A frown pulling at his lips, B still remained looking up into the clouds. And what of you? Will you face your end with your head held high? After everything you've done? Of course. I've done everything I have for the betterment of not just my own people, but for everyone I can reach. Naruto started to walk away, already putting the worries about B out of his mind. Who knows, maybe in a decade or two we can sit and chat again. Come to terms. I doubt you'll ever forgive me for what I've done to your family, nor will I forgive you for Kumo's destruction. Naruto paused, turning purple eyes back towards B. I never said anything about forgiveness. Only understanding. I think you can manage that one day. And then he was gone, leaving B to lay alone on the rocky earth. Understanding, huh? Might be a little late for that. No weapons on him, no avenue for escape, and no will to kill himself either. Guess he really was a coward all the way to the end. Though. He wished he could apologize to Gyuki. Below the waters of the island, Gyuki sat and felt out about B's emotions. Grunting at hard-headed idiots, and unsure who he was talking about, Gyuki finally dove down deeper into the island's surrounding waters. He needed a good nap. Far away, Naruto had already put the saga with B and Kumo behind him, already shifting himself between realities. Face to face once more with the ghetto Mazo, he appreciated the true malice that exuded from it. Kami, this thing is gross. To think a goddess will be born from it. Right? Jumping up to the statue's head, Naruto once more added the final piece of the puzzle. The final eye of the statue opened, where it rumbled in place for a moment, but then settled down. Huh. Your seals are holding strong. Kurama did however feel something beginning to shift. Maybe I spoke too soon. They are based around severing the connection between the body and chakra. Among other things. But these are the remains of a goddess. Sitting down and crossing his legs under himself, Naruto considered what to do. He could leave it like this, or he could take at least one more step. Just in case. I really hope I don't have to hunt down the biju again. I'm sure they'd be pissed off about that. Absolutely. But I think your theory is sound. Sighing and rolling off the statue with grace, Naruto touched down at the statue's base in a gentle crouch. From there he unsealed yet another massive scroll, unrolling it and dumping the body of Madara onto the ground with a thud. Guess, step 1. The hell path was summoned up, the head again dragging the body into its mouth, to chew it up and heal it with some effort. That took a bit more chakra than he was used to. Madara really was a monster, wasn't he? Wait, you're reviving him? I'm getting a good fight again after all. Down boy, I just need to heal the body. No fighting for you. Lame. Spare me, we'll go fight Naruto after this. He owed her one for interrupting his training session with Suda. Well, I suppose that could be some fun. With Sakura and Sasuke. Now we're talking. Watching the soulless body of Madara get spit back out onto the floor with little fanfare, Naruto set to work drawing seals and inscribing them both on Madara's body and the very air around him. This was a bit of a tedious task, but one he had been practicing and preparing for. Above him, the ghetto statue was beginning to change. Guess I better hurry up, huh? I don't know, how tough can this thing be really? Not indulging Kurama, Naruto finished up his seals and backed away from Madara's body a few paces, tough enough that I don't want to deal with it. Chains born from a lot of hard work and more than a few pointers from Karen and Anoka both burst free from his back to build a dome around the ghetto, trying to free itself of its bonds. Moment of truth. Chakra burst free from his body and the chains, activating the seals on Madara and pulling the transforming ghetto into the subjugation seal inscribed at his navel. The process was more than a little taxing, but as the wind and chakra rushed all around him, he finally watched the reviving Jubi be pulled into the still body with a final rush of chakra. Not waiting, chakra chains wrapped around said body to lock it in place, before more seals appeared on the floor and in the air around him once more. Watching and waiting for some sign of a negative change, Naruto finally sighed and stood up to his full height again. Rubbing the sweat from his brow, he watched as Madara's body changed before his eyes in real time. Was that a horn? Was his skin turning gray? Weird. I think we can call it here for today. I half expected him to get up and start fighting. There's no soul in that body to move it. And the Jubi is a mindless mass of chakra that seeks to complete itself. It's a simple beast that even some basic Uzumaki seals could probably lock it away as it is right now. Naruto grinned as he watched his seals continue to hold. We've got all the time in the world now. So, now we unite Zetsu with the corpse and that's it? Kagaya is summoned? Reborn is the better term, but yeah. That'll be the end of it. More like the start. I'm still putting money on her jumping you. Not this again. I've got enough kids coming as is. You are doing a commendable job of repopulating the Uzumaki clan all on your own. Horny little monkey. I blame the girls. He also wasn't liking the way some of the Uzumaki rescue girls were looking at him lately. Kikyo he could understand, having taken Suda under his wing, so she was more concerned for the boy and not after him. But Yuka, Sayuri, and another of the girls, Yukaina, were starting to make his senses itch. Naruto sighed and shifted back to the real world, considering the statue that held Zetsu's own pocket dimension. No. He promised the girls he would take some time and relax. He'd get skinned if he broke that promise. Speaking of, I better go check on the girls, make sure they're good. Well, I'm looking forward to a good fight. Yeah, I'll drag Naruto out of her room. One more step. One where he hopefully didn't have to fight a literal goddess. Either with fists or in the sheets. Coward. I'm feeding you to Kagaya first if it comes to that. You wouldn't. Naruto started to walk back towards the compound, a new spring in his step. Little brother, don't joke about this. More silence, and Kurama stomped a paw to the floor of the seal. Be nice to me. The little bastard. He'd start playing with his hormones or something, really make sure he wouldn't be getting any sleep in the near future. Ignore him, would he? No one ignored the great Kurama. Omake Konohamaru was not one to run away from his problems. He had taken after his idol and mentor well and had decided to face everything head-on and with courage. Naruto wouldn't run in the face of danger, so neither would he. Hayashi wanted to juken him into next week? Big deal. Old Lady Tsunade wanted to punt him when he got uppity? Who cared? He was going to be a great man one day, Hokage even. He laughed in the face of danger. But, as he walked down the street towards Ichiraku's ramen house, he considered that maybe he was operating just a little out of his depth. Because while it had been fun to hang around Hanabi and his friends, he had apparently done something right. Wrong? He wasn't sure. And every signal he was getting these days was a mixed bag that set his heart doing flip-flops in his chest. Case in point, today saw one arm trapped by a growling Hanabi, a very unladylike gesture from the normally so poised and controlled Hyuga princess. On his other side, a smirking and caddish Moegi was holding his arm in a death grip while looking dead on at the Hyuga girl, though neither one said a word. Just what had he done now? He needed Naruto's advice with this. How had Big Bro put up with this? Hanabi held her head high, deciding she needed to be the bigger woman about this. So your friend wishes to tag along for dinner. I suppose I won't mind it. Moegi let out a girlish giggle as they continued down the road, drawing curious and some mirthful gazes, more like you're the tag along. Kokuin is my teammate. She may not necessarily have feelings for Konohamaru, but messing with the stuck-up princess was always worth it. Keikokuin? Hanabi turned sharp eyes to Konohamaru. What sort of relationship do you have with this girl? Before Konohamaru could answer, Moegi was holding a finger in the air. Oh, you know, the kind where boys and girls can sleep in the same tent is all. Not really a lie, they were on the same team in the end. Hanabi didn't know that exactly, of course, blush coming to her face full force. HHH, how indecent. Still, her grip tightened on Konohamaru's arm, but no matter, I'm sure Konohamaru and I have something much more pure than anything an ogre like you can offer. Women like you are meant only for practice. What was that, princess? Growling not unlike the ogre she had just been compared to, Moegi considered belting her one. She was strong even by her clan standards. Wouldn't take much to lay out this prissy girl. Konohamaru chuckled as he could feel his death coming. Can we, get along? You stay out of this. That both girls answered him together only produced more sweat from the boy. Naruto-ni-sama. I need you. Far away and currently entertaining a happy Temari in his lap while Ino fed him ramen by hand in a baiken and Hinata messaged firm fingers into his shoulders, Naruto felt a tickle in his nose. Someone must be talking about him. Welp, it wasn't enough to distract him right this moment. Life was just way too good. Chapter 88. Breathe in and feel the life that vitalizes you. Feel the energy pool at your navel and build. Hold, focus. Don't let the feeling go. Wait. And then exhale. Feel that same energy flow through your body, from your chest and heart to your limbs, you head, back to your navel. Again. Breath in and anti-Tayuya, is this really necessary? Suda didn't want to sound ungrateful, but this was boring. He wanted to blow things up. Bend the elements to his will like Lord Naruto. Shoot out crazy chains like Aunties Anoka and Karen. The bob to the head from the starting to show her pregnancy Tayuya made him wince. Oh. Stuff it. You want to learn, don't you? Flashy techniques and elemental manipulation is all well and good, but you must first master the basics. You made a promise, didn't you? Tayuya turned firm eyes onto the boy sitting before her. They were situated outside and away from the compound, on a small hill next to the lake, while not far from them more of the Uzumaki women sat about and enjoyed the warm weather. It was much too beautiful out to stay inside. Rubbing his head and leaning back on his hands, Suda grumbled, but is all of this really necessary for that? Tayuya softened her look a bit, leaning forward to poke the boy in the chest. Tell me, can you even feel your chakra? Flushing a bit and shaking his head, Suda did in fact pout this time. Well, not exactly. So how do you suppose you'll pull off those flashy techniques if you can't even get a handle of your chakra? Tayuya grinned and sat back as the gears started to move in Suda's head. He was getting better, but that spoiled nature still came out from time to time. You must first learn to harness your chakra. Then you must build upon it and learn to direct it as you wish. Once you can do that, then we can get to the good stuff. Resetting himself and crossing his legs under him, Suda took up a meditative posture though his eyes were still on the long-haired teacher. Auntie Naruko says I should just learn seals and let them deal with the chakra usage. Tayuya decided she'd need to have Naruto beat some sense into his twin. In the meantime though, she decided to switch gears. Unfolding her legs and relaxing into the grass so she could motion for Suda to do the same. Tell me Suda, what do you think chakra is? Isn't it the combination of our mental and physical energy? That's why it's important to be both strong of body and of mind, right? Giggling as Tayuya ruffled his hair, Suda's curiosity grew as Tayuya looked out over the calm lake. Well, that is the textbook answer. But there's more to it. Tayuya rubbed a hand through the grass, motes of light following her fingers as Suda gasped next to her. Chakra is life. Life force, I guess to be more specific. And it's all around us, every blade of grass. The water in our lakes, rivers, and oceans. Even in the air you breathe, there is chakra. Our abilities that we use, most are us exerting our will upon the world, making the impossible, possible. Suda's eyes were wide as he watched Tayuya wave a hand in the air, fire trailing her fingers with a thought before it vanished just as quickly. So we train to better harness that energy? But then what's so wrong about the way Auntie Naruko says to do it? Snorting, Tayuya relaxed a bit more. Well, if you're willing to use the life energy of the world around you, but give none of your own, should you expect it to respond to you? More confusion on the boy's face, and Tayuya set about explaining it just as Naruto had late one night. It's a covenant. A binding, if you will, between us and the world. We grow strong from the fruits of the land, and use our chakra in conjunction with it. One day, we fall, returning our borrowed life and power back to the world, a full cycle from start to finish. Us Uzumaki hold life sacred for various reasons, but one to remember is that we are not outside of the circle of life. Seals are useful tools, but they are not a means to remove ourselves from the natural order. I don't get it, Auntie Tayuya. Chuckling, Tayuya nodded and stood. I figured. How about a small demonstration then? Centering herself as Naruto had told her to, she felt out for the natural world around her. It was harder than achieving this with the seal for sure. But, the benefits of properly giving herself to the world? Suda's eyes went wide as he watched the change come over Tayuya. Small horns of gold sprouted and wrapped around her head from her scalp to her temples. She grew a few inches, and her skin took on a more golden hue as well. And when she opened her eyes to smirk at him, black and gold started back at him. Tayuya huffed and lost the transformation, but still, it was a start. Do it the hard way, the long and methodical way, and the very world can come to your aid. You want to bend the elements to your will, reshape reality to fit your vision? Well, you gotta start right here. Tayuya again pointed towards him, rejoining him on the grass. The basics. I think I get it, Auntie. Good. Now then. Tayuya assumed her meditative pose, matched more slowly by a resolute Suda, breath in and dash far below them towards the water's edge. Kotohime turned a curious eye towards the training pair not far from them. She, Kikyo, Yuka, and Anoka were all relaxing by the water while a pair of the other girls played in the shallows. Even from here, Kotohime could see few fish swimming within its waters, though they kept their distance from the humans. Yuka finished serving Kikyo tea, settling back and placing the teapot on a tray. Maybe Sayuri was right. I should perhaps find something to do now that we've got all this time. Kikyo hummed as she inhaled the aroma from her tea. Still a bit hot. You could be like Yakaina. Hasn't she started moving around with the Chinoike and the Zosencho lately? Yakaina had always had an interest in technology. With their new freedom, she'd certainly have all the time in the world to explore her passion. Though Kikyo wished the younger woman would relax a bit on her workouts. Muscles here appealing, yes, but women should be more dainty in her opinion. Anoka turned to watch the elder Uzumaki carefully. She has. According to Ino, she wanted to learn a few different disciplines before coming back here and opening an armory. Something about Uzumaki bloodline weapons. Oh, that sounds interesting. While Kotohime still preferred her koto, she could still admire a well-made weapon or two. To what end? Shrugging, Anoka took a sip of her own tea. While Naruto has his sword, the rest of us use a smattering of weapons. She intends to create specialized weapons for all of us that with luck and her skill, be on par with Kiri's legendary swords. She has her work cut out for her then. Anoka didn't mind. She was much like Karen. A rear guard type, a supporter. She'd rather help others erect barriers. Not fight. Kotohime caught Kikyo watching the hill again and placed a gentle hand on the other woman's thigh. Is everything alright, elder? Something was certainly on the older Uzumaki's mind lately. Sighing at being caught, Kikyo shook her head slowly as she turned back to watch the girls in the lake. I worry is all. Suda, he, did not have any time with his mother. I know we've spoiled him, but, this life he seeks to make. It's so dangerous. Kotohime nods, beginning to understand. You've watched over him, and all the others, for so long. It's hard to let go, isn't it? Rightly so. I know I'm being a bit of a mother hen, but I wish he'd not push himself so much. Accidents happened all the time and involving ninja training and seals? She didn't want to imagine what could happen to their boy. Anoka chimes in with her own thoughts, seeing as Kotohime seemed at a loss for the moment. Well, we have to give him space to grow on his own, don't we? Otherwise he won't know anything other than doing what he's told and following directions from others. Not a very manly path. She giggled as Kotohime gave her a stern look. Sister's proclivities aside, she has a point. This is something Suda wants to do, and earnestly means it. We should encourage it. Kotoheim rubbed her own swollen belly, her child giving her a gentle nudge in return, and then a harder one straight to her back. Little hellion. Sighing and nodding along, Kikyo gave both girls a smile. I know. I do. I suppose I'm still in survival mode from our treatment from Kumo. But I know Lord Naruto won't let Suda come to harm, and everyone loves Suda dearly. He'll grow strong, I know he will. Onoka was already pointing towards the compound, you know. Maybe you should explore the city a bit, see what life has to offer now. You shouldn't stay cooped up here all the time. I'll consider it, young lady. Now, how are you feeling? Kikyo smiled at the happy glow that exuded from Onoka. More little feet were bound for their home soon. It would be good to stay busy, she supposed. Like it isn't fully real yet. Onoka smiled and looked down at her midsection, imagining the lives growing there. Though maybe I did overdo it. Kikyo and Kotoheim both chuckled as Yuka waved to two girls headed their way from the house. Kikyo was the first to offer her a grin. Just you wait, you are in for a whole new world of changes. You're scaring me. Maybe next time you won't be so stubborn. Well, if there is a next time after this. Kikyo certainly wouldn't want more after 5 at once. No. One was more than enough at a time. I was just motivated was all. Onoka pouted as Kikyo gave her a pat on the hand. Why did she feel like she was on the receiving end of a lot of pity right now? I'll be fine. Of course you will, dear. Scene change. Naruto was contemplative as he stood in front of the Uzumaki monument at the base of the tower. While many gave him plenty of space as he was deep in thought, Temari at his side clapped her hands together as she offered a prayer to the fallen. On his other side Ino did much the same, before both girls turned to face him quietly. Ino was the first to gently place a hand at his elbow. Whiskers, you good? Shaking himself as if coming from a trance, Naruto reminds himself of where he is. Uzushio's capital city. His home. Yeah. I think I'm going to go out for a bit tonight. He turned away, leading both young women away from the spire of obsidian to wander about the city for a bit. Maybe he should pay Tazuna a visit, see how the arena was coming along. Ino sighed and leaned into him as they walked. It's been 2 months already, hasn't it? And what a couple of months had it been. Between Onoka's pregnancy party and the steady growth of their nation, it had been one more or less easy day after another. Plenty of time for all of them to relax, spend time with each other and Naruto specifically, and find new places for themselves among their people. She herself had started up an interrogation department within their ninja ranks. Small-time bandits and a few uppity lords still made things interesting from time to time. Gotta say, I wouldn't mind extending it out to a full year. Heck, put this off forever if we could. On the other side of Naruto, Temari was shaking her head. You know we shouldn't ask that of him. This is a major threat, it needs to be dealt with. She had gotten the chance to visit her brothers back home twice already since she had taken up residence in Uzushio full-time. While she still missed them on occasion, she could say that she had found real love and happiness here as well. Naruto was certainly a doting husband. Though she wasn't on the hunt for children just yet. But the practice. Oh boy, the practice. Naruto could feel the myriad of emotions from both girls and sighed, pulling both into his sides with ease. Arms around their waists, he put on a grin and a brave face. Like I said, this'll be easy work. I'll revive her, get the information I need, and if she is all evil, I'll blow her to bits and come home. Ino chuckled as she considered what Sasuke had already said and shared with Sakura, and thus, her. You're gonna get jumped in the first 10 minutes. Come on, don't side with that bastard Sasuke. Just stating the facts, dear, you're just too irresistible. Certainly was to her. And Hinata, and Yujito lately, and the Samui woman was giving him odd looks lately, and it was probably best not to count the amount of women who would bed her husband if allowed. Temari was curious about something else at the moment, and voiced her concern. What happens after though? I mean, I know you need her for information. But what's the best case scenario here? Best case? She's the only threat I have to worry about and life moves on as we wish it. Naruto paid attention to a group of children on what looked like a field trip, headed for the train station by the looks of it. That they were on the back of 2 giant turtles didn't seem to faze anyone anymore. And worst case? Temari almost didn't want to voice the question, but knew it would eat her up if she didn't. Well, worst case is she's not alone. Or I guess worse, she's the lesser threat. And wasn't that something to worry about? Uzumaki texts had described a clan from the stars. Did that mean there were more out there like Kagaya? Or was she the last of her people? So many questions that he wanted answers to. Needed answers to. Ino nudged him, pulling away but holding his hand to drag him along. Come on, mopey butt. Let's focus on the good things. Kotoheim and Koyuki will be due soon, won't they? Focus on getting this over with and coming home to see your children born. Naruto smiled despite his worry. A father, him? He still wasn't sure this was real. But every night as he lay in bed with the women, having the chance to cradle those pregnant bellies, he knew. His children were nearly here. Ino tugged him a bit more insistently and dragged both Temari and him along. Okay, where's the fire? Maybe I just want to drag you somewhere dark and secluded so we can have you all to ourselves. The sultry look she gave him nearly had him believing her. Naruto chuckled but shook his head. We never would have left the office if that was your plan. Maybe I didn't want to do it there? Another roll of his eyes had Ino laughing into her hand. Who are you, and where have you taken Ino? She never passes up a chance for office fun. Especially if she could drag one of the others along for the ride. Now if you had said you were dragging me off to hunt down Hinata or Karen, I would have believed that. Cursing herself for nothing thinking of that, Ino did instead pull herself back to Naruto's side, though she guided them through the city streets. Instead of that, I have a question for you. Used to the way Ino would switch tracks sometimes, Naruto nodded focused ahead. Okay, shoot. What's up? I guess, considering we now know life outside of our world is real. What would you do if you could travel to other worlds? Sleep. The double slaps to the back of his head were good. 9 out of 10 in his book. Temari shook her head as Ino pouted. You ass. She's being serious here. Hugging Ino a bit tightly, Naruto nodded. I know. Sorry. But honestly? I don't know. I technically can do that now, and so long as the family is here, I have no reason to go anywhere. That brought both girls up short, Ino already turning towards him and fisting his jacket. Wait a minute. Explain. Now. He wasn't supposed to be playing with time and space ninjutsu anymore. Whoops, guess he forgot a few things, didn't he? Naruto released both of them as they angled towards the Uzumaki shrine, well, after locking Zetsu in a pocket dimension. And then doing the same with the Geto Mazo, I got to thinking. If I can make pocket dimensions like that, who's to say other dimensions full of their own worlds aren't a thing as well? Of course, navigating to those worlds would be hard, if not impossible. But it should be possible. Feeling the heat of both women staring holes into the sides of his head, Naruto continued on. I haven't gone, if you're wondering. But I did confirm. I can track down other worlds like ours. So I guess, if I ever found a reason to take the family away from here, I could do that. But this is our home, I don't have a reason to leave. Ino had a different sort of thought, much different than what Naruto wasn't concerned about. Screw that. It's the ultimate vacation. We could leave the elemental nations behind, go and find somewhere truly different and new. Wouldn't that be exciting? Temari was of a different mind, all of this going well and truly over her head. It sounds insane. Both points are valid, I guess. Naruto rubbed the back of his head before shrugging the worry off. I wanted to know that in the worst-case scenario, I could take the family away from here. Make sure we all survived. He would drag himself to hell and fight the Lord of Death himself if it meant his family survived whatever apocalypse was coming. Still there was hope it wouldn't come to that. Well, for now we're banking on Kagaya is actually a pushover and there's nothing to worry about then. Ino would put all thoughts about running away to new worlds out of her mind. That her husband could create dimensions and play with time was something to concern herself with another day. Temari was quick to pick back up on what they were talking about before then, or at least Ino's joke, so guess you better give it to Kagaya good then so we can avoid the end of the world. I'm not going to get jumped by a goddess. Naruto refused. Nope. He had enough headaches. Nope. He'd sooner throw her at Sasuke. Let that asshole deal with her. Kurama's cackling in his mind certainly wasn't helping his mood. Welp, better get this over with tonight. Scene change. It was well and truly nighttime, the stars able to shine brightly on the Uzumaki Island with so little light to speak of. Nearly midnight, most everyone was down and asleep after a long day. Though for a small few, their night was just beginning. Naruto didn't want to consider that he might be getting cold feet, not at what would normally be considered 0 hour. But here he was, standing once more before the statue holding Zetsu, and considering putting this off for another day. Life had been great. Every day nothing but time with his family, enjoying his relationships, kindling a few new ones, and overall just living. But this? Kaguya? Depending on if his hope was correct or not, this could be a fight he may not be able to win. Now's not the time to second-guess yourself. Fear and anxiety will doom you before you start. No reason to live through this twice. Kurama's voice was the calming one for once, and Naruto appreciated it. Guess this is it. Oi, did you really think you were getting away without us? Sasuke and Sakura walked up the trail towards him, Sasuke in the lead while Sakura held a lamp to light the way, not that any of them needed the extra light anymore. Gotta admit, I was kinda hoping so. Naruto accepted the slug to his shoulder with good grace. You can still sit this out. You've got a clan to rebuild. Sasuke scrubbed a hand through his hair with a frown on his face. We're not having this argument again. You go, I go. That simple. Smiling and turning back to Zetsu's prison, Naruto sniffed once. Thanks, brother. No sweat. So, let's get a move on. Sasuke did turn kind eyes back to Sakura. We're agreed, you're waiting here. Looking like she either wanted to argue or maybe punch something, Sakura instead nodded slowly. I made a promise. Time doesn't move there like normal, right? Watching Naruto nod, she clenched a fist and put the lantern on the ground. I'm giving you 5 minutes our time. No more. After that I run to the compound and sound the alarm. Walking forward, she hugged both of her boys tightly. You better come back, and in one piece. Both of you. Letting Sakura let them go, Naruto nodded and flashed her a grin. We won't be gone but a moment. 30 seconds tops. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Unless I come back alone, then just assume he's busy. That won't happen. Sakura smiled as she turned back, picking up the lantern again to face them. It better, I have money on it. Naruto turned bored eyes to Sasuke this time, who tried his best to look innocent. I'm going to make it my life's work after this to see you hounded by every beautiful woman that's not an Uzumaki. Good luck. It's me, I don't need it. A twig snapped, and Naruto cursed his distracted state. The chakra was familiar, too familiar. Ino, Hinata, I swore I knocked you two out. Ino bounced forward, a forced smile on her face as she crashed forward to hug him tightly. You did. But we made it a point to set alarms. You've got a tracker. Pulling away at Naruto's pointed look, Ino tried and failed to stem the flow of tears. This could be the last time they see him, no matter how much he continued to try and reassure them. You better come back, you hear me? Naruto nods as Hinata walks into his arms gently, hugging him tightly and refusing to let go. I will, Kage's honor. Hinata shook her head in his chest. No. Just your word is enough. Please. Pausing and considering her, Naruto thought through everything they had been through. Ino and Hinata had been with him since the beginning. All the changes he went through, this new life he had built. They had both been here step by step. Though if he stalled any longer, he was sure all of the others would find their way here. His not-so-hidden secret prison. On my word, I'll be back. Your word is law, dear husband. Hinata leaned up to kiss him softly once, before stepping back. That's a lifetime promise. You can't break it. Flashing another grin, Naruto gave them a thumbs up as Sasuke latched onto his shoulder. I'll be back before you even know it. And then they were gone. The three remaining women all looked to each other, before Ino stomped a foot into the dirt, building a bench out of earth to sit and wait. She would not be leaving this spot until their husbands returned. Hinata joined her easily, leaning into her side with a tired yawn, while Sakura took an extra second to join her on her other side. Huddled together, Sakura sighed and continued to count the seconds. Ino huffed, they'll be okay. Cleaning her tears, the Uzumaki blonde wanted to stay in good spirits, even if it was against what her heart was telling her. Sakura nodded as Hinata hummed along, they will be. They promised. And those two? Might as well be gods. 2-on-1 should even things out. Plus, she had promised to ride to hell and drag them back if needed. Hinata sighed, joining hands with Ino as she could hear the bushes rustling behind them. Seems we weren't as quiet as we thought. The rest of Fox Den had arrived under escort of Yugo and Riptide Squad 1. Amaru brought up the rear, another lantern to light the way. Guess this'll be a grand welcoming party, won't it? Sakura counted past 30 and mentally promised to belt Naruto one. Well deserved. Physically no more than 3 meters away, but in actuality another world away, Naruto and Sasuke touched down in front of a meditating Zetsu. The being stood up upon their arrival, bowing deeply to Naruto. It is time then? You were honest, it has only been a moment since you last left. Naruto nodded as he walked forward. Yup, Kagaya's vessel is complete. Now we just need you. Of course, this is the final step. Feeling out and latching on to what he wanted through the ether, Naruto worried that merging the two pockets might play havoc with the time dilation effect. Couldn't cry about it now. Only warning you'll get. Attempt to betray us, and you won't even have a chance to consider taking it back. Again, Zetsu bowed to Naruto, with a grin on its face. I would never, my lord. I live to serve Kagaya's will. Another breath to steady himself, Naruto allowed this world to shift and merge with the one holding the body of Madara. A grand expanse of flat plains, and between the three beings who might not be completely human lay the changed body of Madara. Zetsu turned, bowing once more to Naruto, who released most of the seals hovering around the husk, before Zetsu was gone, jumping into it and merging itself with it. Watching the process happen, Sasuke frowned at the feeling he was beginning to get. Why does that feel familiar? Past life shenanigans most likely. You have a chance to talk to yours yet? Shaking his head, Sasuke turned a worried eye to Naruto. Have you? Not really. Have started getting some weird memories though. Oh, yeah, same here. Sasuke shuffled as the body became more feminine, otherworldly. Was that a Rinnegan on her forehead? And horns? Yup, just Naruto's type. Tayuya would get a kick out of that. Ready? Do we have a choice? Naruto shook himself but refused to begin cycling chakra through his system just yet. Better to wait and see how this was going to play out. The body finished shifting and changing, a woman just shorter than Naruto by half a head slowly returning to her feet. Kagaya's long silver hair and pale eyes latched onto both men quietly, before she held up a hand idly with a curious look. A smart tactic, reviving me with so little chakra at my disposal. You precocious children. Naruto had his hands on his hips, taking the lead in this conversation while Sasuke kept his eyes on the revived goddess. Well, just wanted to be safe. I've got some questions for ya. Questions? Do tell. She was now examining her hands, clothes shifting into long and flowing priestess robes of white and yellow. That she was able to do so set both young men on edge. Sharing an unsure look with Sasuke, Naruto powered on. Well, guess first. Where did you come from? A realm outside of this one. The Otsutsuki clan's main mission is to travel and gain strength. We wish to attain godhood much as one of our own has already achieved. Though I have already done so. Kagaya was still examining herself, a pleased smile on her face. Well, this was going a lot smoother than he had expected. No fighting at least. Of any kind. Naruto sighed and considered world-ending aliens as boring. So then, why are you here and so willing to answer my questions? That should be simple to deduce. My partner and I planted the God Tree in order to harvest this planet's energy and genetic information. After which it would change into the 10 tails, I was to be sacrificed to it, and it would bear a chakra fruit. My partner Ashiki was to eat it, and I would be reborn through my karma. Kagaya finally focused back on them, a smile slowly tugging at her lips. And why wouldn't I answer your questions, dear husband? Blinking and feeling like all of his brain's functions locked up at once, Naruto ignored the renewed cackling from Kurama or the barely held in laughter of Sasuke. What? Oh, dear, we are connected. Deeper than hearts. At our very souls. Soulmates. Is that not what a husband and wife should be? She made no move to close the distance between them, though she did hold up a hand that began to coalesce chakra. There is, however, a small matter. Chakra cloak snapping into being, Naruto watched Sasuke jump away, purple chakra roiling around him. Oh, what's that? 1. I am the moon goddess. Destined to save humanity and all the inhabitants of this world. If you seek to protect this world without my interference, you must best me. To prove you are stronger than me. She did not grow in size, but the amount of chakra she began to leak was much more than the slivers of chakra he had given that body. That was concerning. Naruto motioned to himself and Sasuke. The chakra she was summoning to herself felt odd, off in a way he couldn't describe. Aren't we the reincarnations of your son's kids? Isn't it weird to call me your husband? Not at all. My husband is the strongest man alive. That is you. Together we will spawn a godling so powerful that even my clan will be forced to acknowledge us. Kaguya held out a hand to them both, smile still as serene as before. You could join hands with me. Follow my orders and direction. We do not have to fight. Naruto noted Sasuke shaking his head and shook his head in turn. Best not to hesitate now. Wouldn't that mean sacrificing the rest of the world? Well, yes, but they are expendable. You are not. I suppose I can allow you to keep your pets for now. Gods need their distractions. Kaguya leapt for him, eyes shining with activated Byakugan. Enough talk. Show me your strength. While she could only access a fraction of herself in this place, it was enough to rebuild a measure of her chakra. Not enough, but defeating these boys was within her power. Dodging away from a dainty fist that obliterated the ground they had been standing on, Naruto racked his brain as he considered the feel of her chakra. There was something there, just at the edges of his thoughts. Making several clones and sending them to harry her with the sage's paths, he noted Sasuke hanging back and looking for an opening. Not that one would come as another delicate fist obliterated one of his clones. Well shit. Augmented with Kurama's chakra as they were, he was going to need more. Time for that then? Not yet, I have another idea. Kurama snorted, that's such a stupid idea. It'll work. Naruto huffed and made a dozen more low-powered clones, watching as Kaguya waved a hand and gave birth to a literal forest of ash-white trees. All of the clones he had made were destroyed in an instant, but the dozen or so clones in the second wave were already making their way towards her. Naruto followed along behind them, Sasuke racing to join up with him. Kaguya turned to them and floated through the air, a black ball of dense chakra forming between her hands as she considered what to do next. Foolish, clones aren't enough against me. One of the clones winked at her as they all jumped above her, looking ready to attack her en masse. Got something for ya. Reverse harem jutsu. A plume of smoke surrounds all of the clones, before Kaguya is treated to a sight she never would have expected. So beautiful. Kaguya whispered words, trembled past her lips. Supple and glistening abs, almost girlishly good looks, raging muscles, and a first smashed into her gut, interrupting her attack and launching her away to bounce and roll across the landscape. Sasuke huffed as he flew next to Naruto, who gave him a thumbs up. That was childish. It worked, now to really put on some pressure. Making two augmented clones and giving them mental orders, one unsealed a scroll while the other summoned white chains that wrapped around its wrists. They both rushed off, flashing away in a hurriation. Better take cover. Kaguya was just floating free of a dust cloud before she was suddenly assaulted by a new clone, this one bearing a scroll with 3 black bands around each end. What now, more trickery? Wouldn't call it that. This voice was behind her, giving her no warning to stop the chains that erupted from the ground to latch around her legs and midsection. Kaguya moved to break free, but found she couldn't. Interesting. The clone in front of her was already applying chakra to the scroll. Time to turn up the heat. Beautiful. Be beautiful? The scroll unraveled, and Kaguya had all of a moment to consider the reaction before she was assaulted by light and heat. Further away and floating in the air, Naruto and Sasuke bore witness to the explosion and rising mushroom cloud in the distance. Naruto had a feeling that wouldn't be enough, while Sasuke was turning to face him. Overkill much? I could survive it, so she should be able to. There's no way you'd survive that to the face. Sasuke watched Naruto pointing a finger back towards the sea of destruction, finding Kaguya floating there with what looked like a black portal closing behind her, eyes on them both. Okay, that's just unfair. Molten earth boiled and crumbled below her, looking for all the world like a gate to hell. Naruto did have the information he needed now though, and instead tagged Sasuke on the shoulder. I need a minute, can you keep her busy? Naruto was already moving, dropping to the ground as a dome of seals burst to life around him. This isn't a tag team event. Grumbling as Naruto focused completely on his task, Sasuke gave up. I'm saving my I told you so for later. You better know what you're doing. Sasuke raced ahead, mind already focused on forming his Susanoo. Why couldn't she have just been one of Naruto's normal women? Kaguya was already leaping back towards him, a wide smile on her face. I have no need of you, Indra, stand aside. Faced with the massive form of the glowing purple Susanoo, Kaguya again formed a truth-seeking ball in her hands. So be it. Launching the projectile away, she watched the construct's right arm dissolve with ease. She missed the left arm and shield coming her way, smashing into her to send her yet further to tear through the endless landscape. Unfazed, Kaguya again took to the skies, only to see Sasuke there and whole once more. Interesting. What is this? Notching his crossbow, Sasuke let loose several bolts towards the goddess. She wove through each one while closing the distance, a smile on her face, while Sasuke could feel sweat beginning to build on his forehead. Leave it to a goddess to shrug off world-breaking attacks. Backing away as she put on yet more speed, he brought his sword around, wreathing it further in the fires of Amaterasu. Just stay down already. With an errant wave of her hand, Kaguya shattered the attack coming her way, dismissing the black flames as no more than a light breeze. Pitiful. The fist that grabbed her startled her at first, before she offered a smirk to the young man wreathed in the chakra construct's chest. Perhaps you could be interesting after all. Warning bells blaring in his mind, Sasuke abandoned the Susanoo as bone-white thorns pierced the hand holding Kaguya. Watching the Susanoo dissolve as if it never existed, he decided close combat might be a bad idea. Naruto, could really use you, buddy. Hold your horses, I'm almost done. The dome of seals had grown larger, nearly 30 meters, and now several bands of white light circled him. His chakra cloak was still its golden color, but the ears now looked more like horns. Naruto figured he only had one shot at this, and needed to make it count. And then he wasn't on the battlefield anymore. Floating in a formless space of light, Naruto spun about to get his bearings. Had his hunch been wrong and Kaguya had access to more of her abilities than he thought? How could he get back then? His own ability to shift through realities wasn't working here. You'll find you can't do that here. This isn't really a place after all. The voice was old, but kind. And old man sounded almost like Gigi. Turning to face the ancient man who was suddenly before him, Naruto noted the Rinnegan both in his eyes and on his forehead, the wild brown hair and the small horns protruding from his forehead. With a twitch and immediate recognition from Kurama, Naruto relaxed. Hagoromo Otsutsuki then? The great sage himself. You catch on quickly. That's good. The two men face off against each other, before Naruto finally relaxed, floated before the older sage and crossing his legs under him. You know, I expected something. I don't know. More, I suppose. This reaction is lackluster. You've been watching us all this time, haven't you? You should know that I can roll with the punches. Naruto looked around the space again, feeling out with his chakra and senses. Time isn't moving here, is it? Of course not, didn't want to interrupt your battle and doom the world. Kinda already did. Speaking of, why haven't you come before? Hagoromo considered that, twisting his staff in his hands as he floated before Naruto. I didn't want to change the path you were currently on. You were making fine progress without me, so I wanted to see how you would fare. Humming and seeing the logic in that, Naruto pointed out the obvious, but you're here now, which means something was about to go wrong. Actually, the opposite. Grinning as Naruto blinked at him in confusion, Hagoromo waved a hand at Naruto himself. I wanted to appear here, in this moment, to offer you just a friendly piece of advice. You don't need my chakra or any of my body at this rate. Since you figured out some of that already. Not wanting to mention that it was actually Sakura who figured out some of that, not him, Naruto instead crossed his arms. Okay, well, lay it on me. What wisdom does the great sage of the six paths have for me? Chuckling and coming forward, Hagoromo placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Do not forget who you are. You've realized you aren't fully human anymore, I can see that. But that doesn't mean you have to be something else. Stay true to yourself, or you'll fall victim to the same fate that all of the Otsutsuki eventually do. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, that it? Naruto grinned as the other man nodded. You haven't met the girls. They wouldn't let me go off the rails even if I wanted to. Best to keep them close then. And maybe continue to build your legacy as you have. Another smirk, much more playful this time, though maybe don't have too much fun. I'm surrounded by perverts. Naruto huffed and considered if there was anything he wanted to ask. This was the sage himself. The one who passed on the knowledge of chakra to humanity. It was like meeting humanity's greatest hero. Ever wish you could turn it off? All the time, but once the choice is made, it can't be unmade. Would you do any different if it could be? No. To protect my family, my friends, and my world. I'd do anything needed. Hagoromo nodded, pointing once more towards Naruto. And a tip. Chakra is nothing more than energy. All chakra is at its core, the life force of beings, collected and condensed down into a usable form. All energy can be directed, converted, and cut off completely. Keep that in mind. Got it, I think I get what you're saying. Nodding and sending Naruto away with a wave of his hand, Hagoromo gave him a thumbs up. Then that's all you'll need. Let's meet again sometime. Sure thing, old man. Naruto was then back in the middle of battle, mind cycling through the construction of a seal array that would both analyze and destroy a connection he was looking for. He needed to hurry before Sasuke ran out of time. Grunting and dodging away from a swipe of what looked to be a spike made from bone, Sasuke summoned his Chikuto. Enforcing it with the black chakra of Amaterasu, he began a protracted running battle with Kaguya, blocking and parrying attacks that he could feel would end his existence if even one hit him. Molding chakra in his eyes as his Mangekyo was pushed further, he wondered at the sheer scale of Kaguya's power. Even after everything, it's like fighting against a mountain. I'm a goddess boy, you have many millennia to go before you could hope to touch me. Kaguya broke through a hasty block made by Sasuke, her bone spear piercing his chest. Unfortunate. Watching his body dissolve away, she turned to move on to the other boy. Shifting away from her perception thanks to a hasty Izanagi, Sasuke grunted and reappeared 100 meters behind her. Well, that works. One of his eyes began to leak blood and he wondered briefly if he could do that again. Certainly took a lot of chakra. He'd actually rather not push the limits of that if he could help it. Feeling the boy return, Kaguya turned back towards him. Oh? How wonderful, so you do have some skills after all. Marvelous, let's continue. Kaguya was already molding more chakra to her hands, another black mass of chakra building between them. How can you hope to save your world if you can't even defeat me? Sasuke considered his next plan. Susanoo was too big and unwieldy against such a small target, but I have a hunch you aren't as big a threat as you think. Purple chakra burst from his body as he locked gazes with Kaguya, and with a shift from his eyes, a perfect copy of the ribcage appeared around his opponent. Defeating you isn't necessary. Stopping you is. Looking around herself and considering that this was an interesting turn of events. It was still futile. So she couldn't move? That meant nothing to a goddess. The truth-seeking ball formed larger in her hands, now nearly a meter in size. This won't hold me. She sent it forward like a star, fighting the Susanoo cage for all of a moment before it broke through and impacted against Sasuke's own defensive cage. Pleased with herself, she flew forward to put the other brother down and out of the way. Her attack detonated, shattering Sasuke's defense and sending him sprawling. I won't kill you, but I think a timeout is necessary. Eyes shining as she grabbed hold of the gasping Sasuke, a black portal opened up behind her. You haven't mastered the Yamatsu Hirasaka yet. That will give me plenty of time to send you away and deal with Azura. Before she could throw Sasuke through the portal and lock him away, she suddenly found herself before Naruto with empty hands, who was grinning at her madly. Oh, he had placed a seal on her during that first hit, did he? Oh, so that's what a god tastes like. Naruto's voice had a different quality to it as the dome of seals shattered around him, the bands of light closing around Kaguya and locking her in place. Found the last piece. A palm flashed forward, crashing into her sternum in a flash of chakra. Kaguya nearly folded around his hand, before his other came around, threading into her hair and holding her in place. Dropping down to her knees as Naruto did something with her chakra, she felt something inside of her shift, and then break. What? What are you doing? Kaguya couldn't feel her power, her link to the very cosmos, gone. Naruto was grinning, Rinnegan now sporting the tomo from the Sharingan while his pupils were still slit from Kurama's influence. You don't get it, do you? Removing his hand from her chest but still holding her hair back to force her to look at him, Naruto couldn't stop grinning as he completed one last promise to Kurama himself. You do it instinctively, you didn't have to work for it at all. It was time to become the strongest. Looking up into those deep blue eyes, Kaguya couldn't understand what was happening. The Rinnegan on her forehead closed with the lack of chakra, and even her horns were shrinking. What don't I understand? Your chakra comes not just from yourself or the world around you. You connect yourself with the very fabric of reality. It's genius honestly, though your power and everyone like you can be beaten so easily when one knows how the trick works. Naruto could sever their connection to their power and leave them only with the chakra they had within themselves. That would be a much easier fight in the long run. Now, you ready to answer my questions? Nodding her head with a flush on her face, Kaguya smiled for her lord. Of course, Naruto-sama. Order it, and I shall see it done. Coming back into focus and actually seeing the woman under him. He noted that her robes had fallen open a bit, an expanse of pale skin on display as her face flushed and she panted in what he hoped was exertion from the battle. Blinking as Sasuke landed not too far away from them, Naruto turned to look at his brother. Don't say it. There is no luck like Naruto's luck. Seeing that this was over, Sasuke was already molding chakra around himself. I'll tell the girls you're fine. At the least, Sasuke had learned some new tricks, both about the Susanoo and himself. He'd have to get to training. Hopefully he didn't start growing horns. Wait. Don't leave me, you ass. And then Sasuke was gone, shifting away back home and leaving Naruto to deal with a blushing and panting Kaguya. Could you not? I shall perform however you ask, Naruto-sama. And if I do not please you, please punish me as you see fit. Once more ignoring Kurama's cackling in his mind, Naruto cursed the universe itself. Screw this, he needed a real vacation. Releasing her hair and stepping back now that he knew she wasn't a threat, Naruto crossed his arms. The Otsutsuki, should we expect more of them? Kaguya nodded. Oh yes. Though maybe not for some time yet. A decade at the least if the memories I have of Zetsu are to be relied on. There is a smaller clan on the moon, my body's former prison. But they will be of no threat to you. Naruto filed away that people were alive and well on the moon for later. Anyone else beyond the Otsutsuki? There is our ancestor Shirbai, the one who attained godhood. But I highly doubt you will ever see yourself before him. Answers and yet more questions, but at least what was important was done with. At the least, I can relax and focus on our world for now while we prepare. But what to do with you? Naruto eyed up the former moon goddess and sighed, the expectant look in her eyes telling him everything he needed and more. Shit. Outside of the pocket dimension, Sasuke came back to find most of Naruto's family, and even Naruto and Fu had joined them. There was a moment of complete surprise, before a worried and tear-filled Sakura launched into his chest, followed shortly by Amaru. Easily folding his arms around both of them, Sasuke turned his eyes to the only one who looked unbothered at the moment, Hinata. What did I miss? Clearing her throat, Hinata motioned back to the statue. You've been inside for the better part of an hour. Ah, whoops. Sasuke sighed and rubbed both of the girls' backs, Kaguya's revival screwed with the time-freezing effects of the seal. Sorry. Tayuya looked around Sasuke, not seeing Naruto there. What's taking Whiskers so long? Sighing dramatically and already leading Sakura and Amaru back home, Sasuke shrugged. Oh, you know, the usual. That sent everyone blinking quietly, before with a whisper Naruto was back before them, with a new shadow floating in the air and hanging onto his shoulders. With a bored-looking wave, he held up a hand. I'm back. Wanting to get ahead of any speculation, he tossed a hand over his shoulder. This is Kaguya. The goddess of the moon from myth and legend. She'll be around for a while. It started small, a tear-filled chuckle that morphed into a full-on belly laugh that sent Ino clutching her sides as several of the girls around her all erupted into either giggles or relieved sighs. She instead was already pointing at her husband that she loved with all her heart, called it. Pay up. Tayuya huffed as Naruto launched forward to sling an arm over Naruto's shoulder, a literal goddess, just. Should we have expected anything else? Next to her, Karen sighed and stretched her arms up above her head. No, really we shouldn't have. It was late, and she was ready to drag Naruto back into bed to sleep for an entire day if need be. Hinata was already moving to stand, a smile on her face as she assisted Kotohime to her own feet. I had no doubt that our love would be victorious. Ino huffed and walked forward herself to have words with Naruto. Sure thing, mega tits. Don't think we all didn't notice your eyes being active the entire time. How boorish. Naruto endured Naruto shaking him back and forth while Kaguya was brought into the fold by the others. Yup. This was his life now. Maybe that road trip with Jiraiya was a good idea after all. Maybe they could bring Sasuke along. Spread the love. Yeah. That's what they needed. To spread some love. Omake relaxing back into a lounge chair as he enjoyed the warm sun's rays on his skin, Naruto relaxed back as his family had fun around him. On his chest Cheyenne was happily napping away, while in chairs on either side of him Koyuki enjoyed a sunbathing session and Anoka read a book while shielding herself with a wide-brimmed sun hat. In the distance, Naruto and Fu played in the surf with Ino and Karen. Sasuke was already being dragged off by a happy-looking Sakura while Amaru pushing him along, something about snacks and drinks. Behind them, Hinata and Tayuya joined them, happy to help with the load while three of the Uzumaki girls played with young Suda, building a rather grand sandcastle. That once more, many of the Uzushio natives gave the Uzumaki family a wide berth of privacy was a blessing. Though Naruto made note of more than a few Hataru and Chinoite clan members hanging around nearby. Even now they offered to guard them. Trustworthy bums. He'd make sure to send the clans a gift or two later. Taking a deep breath and exhaling slowly, Naruto admitted that he needed more boring days like this. His skin cooled, something shading him, and he opened his eyes to see Kagaya staring down on him. Yo, what's up? Kagaya leaned back, taking in the growing Uzumaki family and the ocean before them. In the distance they could make out the ninja fortress, an airship docked there most likely for supplies, and what looked suspiciously like the Sambai floating by. Your city is impressive. A feat even I must acknowledge. Floating around and eyeing the woman in Naruto's lap, an errant wave of her hand sent Cheyenne floating over to land in Onoka's lap with a squawk. Now nestling herself into the chiseled chest of her soulmate, Kagaya giggled as Cheyenne and Koyuki both gave her death glares. I'm a goddess, fight me. Swatting the white and yellow bikini-clad woman on the behind and ignoring the moan in return, Naruto turned a lazy eye down towards her. Don't antagonize the other girls. Watching Cheyenne settle into Onoka's lap and return to her nap while Onoka continued on with her book, Naruto also promised to make it up to them later. So, decided to stick around, have you? You are my lord and husband, I would never leave you. Here Kagaya snuggled deeper into his chest. I shall sire as many children as you desire, from now until the end of time. Koyuki huffed from where she lay, refusing to move now that her child seemed content to rest under the warm sun within her. To think you nearly ended the world once upon a time. I only wished to save humanity. Ending it could also be considered doing such a task. Better to die free than end up as raw energy fueling a god. Not that she was any better than her brethren. She had nearly done the same to humanity. Shaking his head and attempting to go back into the light doze he had achieved before, Naruto nearly missed more arrivals from the city. Looking across Koyuki and seeing Yujito and Samui walking their way, he raised a hand towards them. Yujito, enjoying a day out? Something like that. Yujito and Samui didn't even flinch as new lounge chairs appeared out of thin air, each woman taking to one while Samui grinned. So cool. Naruto puffed out his chest, that's me. Yujito giggled, and so humble. Eyeing the long-haired alien on Naruto's chest and almost wanting to throw her in the sea to take her place, Yujito decided against it. It was a nice day out and it wasn't worth a fight. Say, you wouldn't mind if Naruto shook his head right away, not happening. But, you haven't even let me finish yet. Don't need to. Answers nope. But it would be amazing. Don't care, go away. Yujito turned to Samui, who waved a hand in the air with a knowing smirk. Great, no help there. Fine. It's for me and Samui. Nope, don't want to hear it. Not at all. There was a certain strain in Naruto's voice that his girls picked up on, Koyuki grinning as she shifted slightly to get more comfortable. So, that was their game. And we have Mei on board. Eye twitching now, Naruto cursed cell phones and all things soft, that's. Kagaya leaned up, kissing the nape of his neck and working her way towards his jawline with ease. I can tag along, if you need the assistance. Welp, that was the end of that. This weekend, at the compound. Naruto was not a pushover. Anyone who said otherwise was welcome to fight him about it. Yujito leaned around and high-fived Samui, mission accomplished. You'll stop complaining once you see what we have in mind. Samui nodded, it'll be amazing. Naruto had absolutely no doubt that it would be. As if he didn't already have more than enough to worry about. But, this was his life. He wasn't trading with anyone, ever. Make me a body so I can have my way with the Matatabi. Oh fine, come here. Well, maybe some sleep would be nice. Chapter 89. Time skip, 10 years after the fall of Kagaya and Naruto, hair longer and pulled back into a ponytail that reached his mid-back, stood back and watched his family work together for the moment. Today was a grand party, and everyone had come together to set things up in the back garden of the Uzumaki compound. Temporary tables were assembled, chairs were carted in by the dozens, and through it all a happy energy hummed through the air. Something he would never get tired of. Incoming. Rushing around his legs with a chair carried over their head, a boy with striking blonde hair with orange highlights and blue eyes raced by. Clad in a more modern take of his old jumpsuit, Naruto laughed as his third oldest was scolded by his mother. A currently pregnant Tayuya, sporting a green sundress and long braided hair down to her ankles. Minato, you louse. Watch what you're doing. Sorry mama. Racing away through the tables while deftly avoiding contact with anyone else, Minato was soon out of sight. Coming up on either side of Naruto, his two oldest children made an appearance, having been on the hunt for that particular brother. On his left, his eldest daughter with Koyuki, Fuyuki. Sporting deeper auburn hair but her mother's face and eyes, she would one day be the picture of sophistication. If maybe she could stop being so cold to others outside of the family, much like her namesake. Father, is all this really necessary? Oh come on Yuki-chan, you know Dad's gonna say yeah. The eldest son, Ryujin, grinned and linked his hands behind his dark black hair. Though he was the spitting image of Naruto with his own blue eyes. He more often than not got in more trouble than he should. Naruto was still finding it hard to keep him out of his study and away from the training scrolls. Kotalheim swore it was just his warrior spirit at play. Naruto reached down and ruffled their hair a bit, happy to see them putting up with all of the extra attention today. You'll be fine. You only turned 10 once. And besides, you've gotta look cool for all of your siblings, right? Today was going to be a special day. Each of the kids had worked hard and had built their own Uzumaki masks, denoting them as seal experts within the clan. Why don't you run along, go find Karen and your mothers, would you? Fuyuki rolled her eyes. You could find them in an instant if you wanted, father. All the more reason for you to up your training. Run along now. Ryujin was already dragging his sister along by the hand, a wide grin on his face. Come on, if we hurry maybe we can sneak off to find Auntie Yujito. She's probably napping by the lake again with Auntie Samui. Letting her brother drag her off, Naruto shook his head at their antics before turning back to his task for the moment. Which honestly was just stand around and look pretty while his clones set about being ordered around by the various Uzumaki women. Naruto honey, save me. Anoka's voice came from his right, prompting Naruto to turn and catch the flying woman that was dumped into his arms. Twisting around to carry her in a bridal hold while sharing a kiss with her, they were met with a host of protests from the children chasing after her. Gross mom. Keep that in the house. My eyes, I can't unsee it. You all need help. Naruto eyed the quintuplets with a grin as he hoisted Anoka in a tighter hold as they formed up in front of them. 4 boys and 1 lone girl who did her best to boss all of them around. Well, at least she'd never have to worry about being bullied, ever. Kaoru, Masami, I hear you got in some trouble with Yakaina down at her smithing shop. 2 of the boys, near mirrors of each other with bright red hair and green eyes, winced together. Sorry? One answered while the other fought off the roughhousing of another of his brothers. No excuses, make sure to go back and apologize to her properly, alright? Yi's dad. Naruto's eyes tracked to the others, specifically his daughter with Anoka, and Hikari. Will you stop pranking your brothers with truth seals? But it's Fune daddy. Bouncing in place with her hair in pigtails, Hikari was all bubbly personality and easy to read emotions. Though she did have more strength than Naruto could account for. Watching her sling her arm around the neck of one of her meeker brothers to drag him down next to her, plus, Yasuharu would have told me everything without it. I mean, Dad always says you get in less trouble if you tell the truth. Yasuharu wouldn't have a shortage of attention one day, nearly a carbon copy of Naruto himself in the looks department, though with a much quieter personality. Plus, I don't mind, it lets her practice her seals. His remaining brother nudged him in the ribs. You just won't say anything because she knows who you like. Hikari was quick to stomp on his foot. Hush Badasai, that's my blackmail, not yours. Ooh, Daewad, look at what Hikari did now. Bouncing in place as the others laughed, Badasai sometimes wished he had a more delicate sister. Like Himawari. She was the cute one. Naruto shook his head though he looked at Anoka happily. I think we need a vacation. Maybe a new set? Oh dear, I was just thinking we could try again for more. I think they could do with more siblings. Anoka could play along, it certainly got the children motivated. Run for it. Mom and Dad are getting all lovey-dovey. Kaoru led the way, all 5 children making a run for it towards the lake. They were quickly joined by a confused but accepting Himawari, dragged along by Hikari. Letting his wife down with a final kiss, Anoka giggled as she glided away. Who's watching The Office today? Naruto shrugged, just clones, and maybe Isaribi and Gosu if they haven't buggered off yet. Shaking her head with a smile, Anoka continued her journey back to the house. So just the clones then? Yup. Waving as Anoka disappeared back into the house, Naruto started for the Uchiha house. He should probably make sure Sasuke was still alive, he hadn't seen him in a few days. Waving to a pair of Uzumaki girls, Yuka and Sayuri, he just saw what looked like Kikyo and Suda in the distance helping to set up several long tables laden with food. Good boy that one. The medium-sized scroll on his back was new though, Naruto would have to spar with him later. Oop, where do you think you're going? Latching onto his right arm, Naruto was joined by a peaceful-looking Hinata. She had mellowed out her fashion once more as she stepped away from ninja duties. Today saw her in a calf-length blue sundress with an orange apron over the top. Not trying to run away, are you? Two soft somethings pressed into him, and Naruto smirked despite himself. Though he paused as a soft babbling reached his ears. Looking over Hinata's shoulder, he could make out a cherubic face and bright blonde hair. Something wrong? Leaning into her, Naruto kissed her in the cheek. Not at all. Wanna join me in checking up on Sasuke? Oh, that could be fun. Pulling her braided hair back over her shoulder and away from grasping hands, she joined him on his walk. Have you seen our older son? Boruto? Nope. Probably out with the twins. He shouldn't have been surprised when Yujito gave birth to twins eventually. He had been surprised when Samui asked for one of her own. Either that or planning another attempt to ambush me. Say it isn't so. Hinata giggled as she latched on tighter to Naruto's arm, pulling it further into her warmth. Say, we're going to be all alone soon, should we take the scenic route? With the walk and the warm sun, the swaddled Tenjin on her back would be asleep in minutes. Naruto turned and wiggled his eyebrows at her. Oh, have something in mind? Far be it from him to deny a wife. Maybe grinning and thinking it over, Naruto didn't miss a beat as he took himself, Hinata, and baby Tenjin into the air on a current of wind. Below them, the path they were on was engulfed in a spray of water, and he could hear 3 children groaning. "Aw, we were so close that time." That had to be Boruto. We even enlisted Natamama for help. A girl's voice, high and imperious. That had to be twin one from Yujito, Maki. I told you. You used too much chakra, Bakubo. Another boy, twin 2 from Yujito, Nanami. Naruto chuckled as he exchanged a look with Hinata. You traitor, he leaned in to begin tickling her sides, sparking laughter from her as she thrashed about in his grasp. Wait, wait. Mercy. Mercy. Below them, the kids came out of hiding, the older Boruto leading the way and pointing up to his parents. Unhand her, you fiend. Oh ho ho. You want the queen and the young prince? You'll have to best me in combat. Naruto put on his best evil villain laugh as he floated just out of reach of the children who gave chase. This was what he wanted. These little moments with his family. Happy children who knew they were loved and wanted. Children who knew without a doubt that he would always be here for them. Though the fire jutsu that flashed by his head that he could do without. Oi, who taught you fire techniques? And your mother has Tenjin. You know better. All 3 children froze in place. Exchanging looks under the stare from their father. He wasn't angry with them, but he certainly wasn't happy. Nanami ratted the culprit out instantly. Auntie Naruko said it'd help us get you. Floating down to the ground and exchanging a look with Hinata, he vowed to beat the tar out of his sister when she returned next. Welp, you know the drill. Rule breakers spend some time at the library. You get a pass tonight for the party, but I'd better see you there tomorrow. Hi. Dejected voices for sure, but at least they didn't have to go train with Grandma Tsunade. Grandpa Jiraiya always tried to get them to pull pranks on her. Naruto waved them off back towards the house. Go help set up, the party should start up soon. Hi. And then they were gone, leaving Naruto and Hinata alone. Hinata was quick to press herself into her husband. So, now we really are all alone. Babbling and giggling Tenjin didn't count. And there's the wife of mine that can't get enough of me. Naruto grinned as a hand came around to squeeze his butt, and while I can't get enough of you too, you're gonna have to wait. We have a party. No quickie? Even a short one? Tenjin will fall asleep soon enough. Hinata pouted slightly, putting on her best puppy dog eyes until Naruto pulled her into a steamy kiss that set her heart aflame. By the time they pulled apart, she was a panting and gooey mess that had to be led along by the hand. Now I really want to find somewhere to hole up. Later, tonight. Just you and me. Naruto certainly wouldn't complain. Well, maybe Ino as well. She's been looking for an excuse to slow down. More like baby fever had finally hit. Oh? Naruto wasn't going to assume Ino was finally ready for a kid of her own, but he wouldn't put it past her. Playing at Auntie had made her pretty happy the last few years for sure. And she had been keeping busy with various amounts of work back in the city. But he and the others had seen the look she gave the kids sometimes. Ino gave all the signs of a woman ready for her own. But he wouldn't push her. He'd never do that to any of the girls. Well, on that note, have you seen Temari lately? She should be back within the hour with Ino. A team from Konoha is coming in today with a package. Hinata may be out of ninja work, but she still kept an ear to the ground. Any word from your sister? Naruto looked up as he and Hinata continued back down the road towards the Uchiha house. Where had they said they were going this time? Oh yeah. Last she and Fu checked in, they're bound for somewhere past the land of bears. But they'll be back later for the party. A pregnant Fu is apparently not a lot of fun to travel with. Hinata accepted the arm that snaked around her waist that pulled her into his side. I can only imagine. Letting them fall into a comfortable silence as they could already see Sakura and Amaru sitting together on the back porch of their home, Hinata brought up another idle thought. How goes the exploration of Kagaya's worlds? It's certainly a lot easier when you have the woman herself to guide you along. Naruto had given the fallen goddess access to her power once more after she had proven to truly be loyal to him. She certainly was a big help about the compound, and she was a good teacher to the kids. Just wish she'd stop popping in at random times. Give her a baby or 3, she'll calm down. I think she just likes the practice more. We all enjoy the practice, dear. Sharing a chuckle with Naruto, Hinata placed one hand over the one holding her. No dice on a distraction? You're in a mood today. Yeah, it's been coming and going lately. Naruto would have to remember to have Bachan check her over later. Coming into shouting distance of the Uchihas, Naruto raised a hand in greeting. Yo. Sakura. Amaru. Both women raised their hands in greetings, though the gang of dark-haired children that spilled from the house surprised even him. Hinata was quick to abandon him. Wait, not the face. And then he was dragged down under 6 bodies. Walking up to the pair and joining them on the back porch as they watched Naruto play with the Uchiha children, Hinata eyed the currently pregnant Sakura. Another one? We did say we would rebuild the clan. Sakura had no shame in admitting she enjoyed this life. Sure, it was fulfilling to work the hospital and take over the mantle of medical prodigy from Lady Tsunade. But Sakura did have another goal as well, rebuilding the Uchiha with Sasuke. How's your sister? Hanabi? Wonderful though, still knocking Konohamaru around whenever possible. At least she isn't fighting with Moegi anymore. Hinata shifted her bundle and cradled her baby in her arms, letting Sakura coo over him easily. Sakura giggled as Amaru moved to save Naruto from the dog pile of children. She finally figured out Moegi was just messing with her. It wasn't fair. How could babies just be this cute? Hinata shook her head as Naruto started juggling children through the air on wind currents, prompting Amaru to move faster. No, actually. Apparently they've come to an agreement. That was a surprise to Sakura, blinking slowly as she digested that. So like you and Ino back in the day? Somewhat, yes. More peacefully at the least. Hinata was sure that Hanabi would be fine. Things had certainly changed for the better in recent years after that had a conversation with Hayashi about the Hyuga clan and their future. That had been invigorating. How's Sasuke doing? Recovering. Sakura didn't elaborate, and Hinata finally noted the odd limp Amaru had as she scolded Naruto and her children together. Seeing the world's strongest man on his knees before an angry mother was certainly something. Almost time for the party? Hinata nodded. A little later, yes, just wanted to make sure you'd be there. Sakura smiled and nodded, running a hand through her short pink hair. Wouldn't miss it. I'll wake him up in a bit. Sounds good. So, I heard Shizune and Kakashi finally have children on the way. Sakura was all grins as leaned in to ranted about her favorite work, triplets actually. You wouldn't believe how ecstatic Shizune is. Though Tsunade could do to relax a bit. You'd almost think she was going to give birth herself with how worried she is. Sakura shared a laugh with Hinata before looking back out into the yard where Naruto and the children promised to be good. I also hear Iruka and Naruto dragged Kakashi out to get absolutely trashed. Oh, and they're banned from its place for a month. Apparently they went on a right tear. Someone questioned just how much Iruka could drink, apparently someone else said something vulgar about Samui, and well. No one had to guess how the night went from there. Naruto was back up as the lecture ended, racing into the house with a smirk on his face. Get up, you lazy bastard. We got stuff to do. And then he was gone, leaving all the women and children alone. Amaru said it best, that's one of the men who saved the world? That their children raced into the house after him was ignored. So much for promises. Sakura sighed and nodded, that'd be one of them. Two idiotic peas in a pod. There was shouting from upstairs, what sounded like an elephant moving through her bedroom, before both men came tumbling out of the window to crash and tumble about the yard. Yup, just made for each other. It was going to be a long day. Scene change, and on your left you will see the Grand World Arena, built to host events from around the world. From the Ninja Chunin exams, to the elemental dancers hailing from spring and wind, and even sports festivals. Today even there is tuning out the tour guide's words. Konohamaru watched the city float by as he and his students rode along in the elevated train line. After some time and further upward expansion of Uzushio's capital city, so too had their mass transit improved. Even here they could just make out the expanded and improved Uzumaki Tower, now nearly 24 stories taller than before and hosting several airships docked along its span. Someone poking his side pulled him from his thoughts. What's that? You're not supposed to interrupt Sensei when he gets all broody like that. He's probably thinking about Lady Hyuga again. Kimiko was a oddity of an Aburame. Loud and chatty, and never knew when to read the room. Konohamaru wouldn't admit to her being his favorite. The poker in question sitting next to him, a grinning boy by the name of Kidamaru, scratched at his facial tattoos. But I have a questions for Sensei, and the tour guide couldn't answer me. Focusing on the Inuzuka and noticing now that a few of the train-goers were also looking at them with interest, Konohamaru sighed and sat up straighter. What's the question? Is it true that Uzumaki-sama blew up a biju? Naruto had told that story, hadn't he? And Scary Big Sis did confirm it. Well. Yeah, Uzumaki-sama did do that, yeah. A long time ago. Kidamaru turned to their last team member, pointing a clawed finger the other boy's way across the table. See, told ya. Pay up, Haru. Haru did just that, pulling free a wallet and tossing over a few ryo. That's just insane. No one should have that much power. A member of the Hyuga clan, the boy had grown up with weird rumors surrounding the Uzumaki clan. From they were scary masters of seals that could rip the world apart, to their clan leader was a narcissistic pervert who stole away girlfriends and wives. You were trained by Uzumaki-sama, weren't you, Sensei? Big bro was a friend. I did pick up a few things from him though. Smirking and holding out a hand, Konohamaru produced a spiraling ball of chakra, a perfect Rasengan coming to life for a moment, before quickly fading away. It's been a while since I've been free to visit him and his family though. I'm glad we'll have some time on this mission to hang around. Forcing the man to scoot over, a beautiful blonde in black and purple took up the free space with ease. Well, been a while, hasn't it, Konohamaru? And look, you're all grown now, even have a team. Ino was smirking as she slung an arm over his shoulders. And what's this I hear about you two timing Hanabi? Blushing but knowing better than to try and pull away, Konohamaru let the Uzumaki woman have her way. It's not like that. We're just working things out is all. That's not what I heard. Ino giggled before noting the children were all staring at her. What's up, kiddos? Wah, so pretty. Kimiko accepted the smack to the head from Kidamaru easily. What she is? Big sis, what are you to Konohamaru? You're not his foreign girlfriend, are you? Laughing and waving her off, Ino leaned back and relaxed as the train began to slow to a stop at the next station. No. Me and Konohamaru just go way back. He's my husband's little tag-along. I wasn't a tag-along. Sure seemed that way. You've even copied his relationship style. And some of his jutsu. You show the kids the SE-and with that. What are you doing here, Lady Uzumaki? Konohamaru didn't need that tidbit of information to reach his students. Oh, I got word that a cute team had shown up and I wanted to see who it was. That had all three children locking eyes on the blonde, Haru taking the lead. Aren't you a Yamanaka? Former Uzumaki Ino, at your service. You here for a delivery, right? Ino watched all of them nod quickly before standing and motioning for them to follow her. Alright, come with me, I'm your contact and escort today. Leading them through the crowd as the train came to a halt on an elevated platform, Ino grinned at the group from over her shoulder. First time bringing your team to Uzushio-ko? How are ya liking it? Kadamaru was quick to raise his hand. I hear you guys use robots to patrol your streets. And your waters are patrolled by monsters. Ino hummed and weaved through the crowd as they descended from the terminal to the ground level. Well, not robots specifically, but we do have an autonomous police force. As for the monsters, well, that's mostly true. Though if you call the Sanbai or Gyuki monsters to their faces, they might have some choice words for ya. Nudging her teammate to shush, Kimiko raised her hand. Is it true some of the strongest in Uzushio are all women? Smirking as they crossed a busy street, traffic stopped by a stoplight, Ino nodded sagely. Remember, young student, women can and will be sneaky. We just let the boys have all the flashy fun. So cool. Konohamaru sat back while Ino fielded questions from his students, silently marveling at all the lights and sounds of the bustling city. It certainly wouldn't be hard to hide a ninja village within its confines at this rate. He loved Konoha and its more natural setting, but Uzushio had a certain charm to it. Plus, the place was well kept and clean in a way most big cities weren't. Reaching the center hub of the city where the Uzumaki Tower sat and rose above every other building around it, Ino led the way before pausing for a moment before the Uzumaki Monument. These season's blooms were a mixture of specially bred blue and orange flowers. A certain shard of glass twinkling in the sunlight against the black stone. Clapping her hands together, she offered a quick prayer before moving on. Konohamaru did much the same, even as his students read the inscription in gold. He was rather impressed with them as they all followed his lead silently before catching back up. There was a lot to say about them, but at least they were a respectful bunch. But he did turn to Ino as a man held the door open for them as they passed through the glass front of the main building. So, anything new going on around here? Well, we're looking to start up an expedition soon across the Great Sea. Naruto and Yujuto are actually heading that up. They plan on taking 2 airships. Ino didn't really care, she had a plan of her own with Naruto to accomplish soon. Another more secret project about to be finished. Across the Great Sea, huh? What do you think they'll find? Whatever they find, it'll be something new and exciting at least. Ino pressed the elevator call button on the wall, considering the foursome for a moment before shrugging. How's Asuma doing? Pretty good, he and Kurenai finally figured things out completely, so he settled down. Considering retiring actually, before Shikaku offers him the chair. Probably made a bit of a mess when Tsunade-sama left, huh? That's putting it mildly. Wanna trade her back? Konohamaru ushered the kids into the elevator as the doors opened, letting Ino choose the floor for them. Ino shook her head. You're gonna have to fight the Uzumaki kids on that one. She's their favorite grandma after all. Well, it was worth a shot. The doors opened and the group made it out to the Kage's office level. The floor space was full of desks as secretaries and functionaries rushed about working through miscellaneous work and reports. It's certainly lively here. Naruto made it a priority to put off all but the most important work to everyone else. Frees him up to both be our Kage and spend time with the family. Clones probably help. Clones always help. Ino waved to the secretary of the day, the teal-haired Kion, before throwing open the doors with ease, and we're back. Temari sat at the desk, oddly alone in the office, short of a pair of clones off to the side playing cards. Ino smirked, having an idea of just what was interrupted because a certain someone was not supposed to be in that chair. So, he put you in the chair today, did he? What did he have to promise you? That's my secret. Twitching and keeping her eyes firmly on the group, Temari's joint Suna and Uzushio headband was proudly displayed on her forehead. So, Team 7 from Konoha, you have something for us? Konohamaru nodded, coming forward and removing a scroll from his Jonin vest. Here you are, 1C rank delivery, completed on time. Temari chuckled as she took the scroll from him, unrolling it and watching as in a poof of smoke, a rather large cask was deposited on the desk. The fact that it even groaned under the new weight had her blinking owlishly before sighing and resealing it all away. Tsunade. Ino chuckled as she sat on the edge of the desk. How long has she been doing this now? How long has she been bribing Naruto? Temari huffed and considered that. She ever say just what she's offering Naruto that has him agreeing to her lunacy? She never says. Ino shrugged while both women wondered about it. Oh, guess I'll take that to the house then. Temari handed over the scroll as the Konoha team watched them banter back and forth. Alright, I'll be along in a minute, just a couple of things to finish here. Ino leaned into her personal space, just close enough to see under the desk as well, and the cheeky clone there, sure. I'll leave you to it. Ino popped back up to her feet, pointing back out towards the door. Let's get going Team 7, we have another stop to make. Only slightly confused as Ino started to push him towards the door, Konohamaru grunted at her bossiness. What's the rush? You wanna see Naruto or not? Kimiko waved her hands in the air excitedly. We get to meet the Uzukage. Let's go. Let's go. Watching the group leave, Temari reached down and grabbed the clone by the hair. I told you it was risky. But it's more fun this way, Mari-chan. Well, you aren't wrong about that. So, I'll get back to it then? Huffing and seeing the other clones eyeing her, Temari relented. Hurry up, I want to get back to the compound and the real you soon. She had been having an itch lately that needed to be seriously scratched. Yes ma'am. Scene change, Karen grinned as she stood on the upper level of the stadium. Of all things, a baseball game was slated today. And a crowd was certainly starting to packing in for it. Though what had her here was a different matter altogether. Someone tugged on her hand, and she looked down to her left. Yes, Rengoku? The blonde and red-haired toddler tugged his younger sister in front of him, the younger girl looking ready to pass out. Kushina sleepy. Smiling softly and picking her daughter up into her arms, Karen nods and retakes Rengoku's hand. We're almost done here, and then we'll return home. Idly, she made sure that the barrier she had put up was still holding. While it wasn't a particularly breezy day, best not to have an accident with children involved. Okay mama. Lady Uzumaki, the transmitter system is online, everything shows green. Turning back to a pretty-looking technician working on an electrical panel under an antenna array, Karen nods and walks her way. Still need my code then? Yes ma'am. The tech leaned back as Karen bent down to quickly input a personal access code. When finished, they all could hear the whirring of machinery coming to life around them. That'll be that ma'am. Sorry about this. Karen waved her off as she stood to her full height. It's no worry, this was a quick thing. Turning her eyes to look out over the ocean, she spotted Isaribi riding the waves with a happy-looking Gosu. Hefting her daughter a little higher in her right arm, she squeezed her son's hand. Ready, dear? Of course, mama. With a thought, they were gone, dropping down by the lake near the Uzumaki compound. Awesome. Rengoku would never get tired of that. When do I get to learn the Hiraishin, mama? When you have the chakra to produce a base-level Rasengan, then you can start training with it. Karen paused, looking around before spotting a horse-sized Kurama basking in the sun on his side. Along his back were a gang of smaller children, most likely Onoka's kids. Walking over and letting Rengoku join the napping group, Karen nuzzled the fox between the ears. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Quiet woman, the children are sleeping. Oh, so touchy. Karen looked over to his middle, seeing a slightly smaller Matatabi curled around a trio of bright blonde kids. Watching after Yujito's and Samui's kids? Where are the bombastic duo? They've gone on a hunt for Naruto. Oh dear, no wonder the kids scattered. Continuing her petting of the prickly beast with long and adorable ears, Karen smiled and turned to walk away. You're such a softy Kurama. Only for the children. And that Enko woman, she gives me snacks. Yeah, people are not usually considered snacks. I'm not a people. Rolling her eyes, Karen made for the main house, sure that party preparations were well underway at this point. And stop letting the kids ride you around like a horse, it scares the shit out of Kikyo. Or at least stop doing it around the city. If she kept getting reports about mythical creatures from concerned citizens, she was going to turn Kurama into a mascot. No promises. Continuing on her way and adjusting the limp toddler in her arms, Karen started up the path away from the lake. She could just make out the party area at the rear of the compound along with the milling of people and clones both. She wondered if she had time to put down Kushina for a nap and maybe scamper off to the Uzumaki library. She wanted to find reference materials for a new project. Derailing her thoughts, a rather tan pair appeared just on the front steps of their home. Fu and Naruko had returned, Naruko carrying a pouting Fu while laughing up a storm. See, I told you we'd be fine. Setting off a trap just for the fun of it is not what I would call a good idea. Fu bopped Naruko on the forehead before said woman let her down. Spotting Karen, she waved and shuffled over. Hey Karen, the party hasn't started yet, has it? Nope, you're still early. Naruto groaned but turned to follow along after them. I knew we had time. You may not flash back and go beat those bandits senseless. Fu turned Naruto's way, or no fun times till this child is out of me. I'll be good. Karen shook her head. How far did you get this time? Naruto shrugged as they walked through the pristine halls of the Uzumaki Manor, just outside of Bear Country. Chasing a rumor about a weird ruin that appeared out of nowhere. Any chance it's connected to the Otsutsuki? Never know. I set a marker. I'm gonna convince Naruto and Sasuke to come with me next time. Naruto had been having a blast of a time with all her nieces and nephews over the years. And sure, she and Fu had finally decided it was time to have some of their own, but she would die before she let anything happen to them. Some wannabe gods coming to destroy their world? Nah. She'd end them. Having ascended the stairs to the second floor and made it to the hall containing most of the children's room, Karen waved the girls off. Get cleaned up, and don't take too long. Fu nodded. Yes ma'am. Her hand snaked out, grabbed Naruto by the collar. That was directed at you. No running off to fight Naruto right away. Oh fine, twist my arm, why don't you? I'll twist a couple of somethings if you aren't careful. Scene change. The party was in full swing, and while Naruto watched on as his eldest were showered with presents, he was accompanied at the moment by a calm Sasuke and a upbeat Naruto. Leaning against the largest of shade trees in the area, a grand willow, Naruto didn't miss Ryujin running up to them with Fuyuki in tow, both with their masks on but to the sides of their heads. Several of the family were watching them, most with mirth in their eyes, while his wives looked more than a little exasperated. Ryujin was the first to skid to a stop in front of the three elder ninja. Dad. How about a spar? Ryujin had demonstrated his mask's abilities. Exceptional wind control and patterned in white and green, he could nearly fly just as well as Naruto could, all without hand seals. Naruto hummed at that as Naruto chuckled next to him, answering in his stead, Don't you think it's a little early for that squirt? Why not spar with one of your brothers? Waving his arms to his sides as Fuyuki shook her head, Ryujin pointed to the lake. Nu, between you. It's been forever since you've been back. And it's our birthday. We're in charge. Turning worried eyes suddenly to Fuyuki, Ryujin whispered to her, Right sis? It's our day. Fuyuki nodded once. Our word is law today. Her own all-white Oni mask glinted with an odd shine. She was leaning into her own ice motif, with a mask capable of building blizzards in an instant. Though she was still low on chakra to hold it for long. Naruto exchanged looks with Sasuke and Naruto. How about it? I owe Naruto a beating anyway. Naruto held out a hand instantly, no bijou mode. Sasuke also held out a hand as well. Let's keep it to taijutsu and kenjutsu, and basic ninjutsu. You're only saying that because that's your specialty. Duh. Rolling his eyes, Naruto looked out over the crowd and spotted two more people he figured could join in. Raising his voice and cupping his hands around his mouth, he applied just a smidgen of chakra. Hey Isaribi. Jiraiya. How about we put on a show for the kids? You all versus me. Down in the crowd and settled in nicely at a table, Jiraiya pulled himself away from Tsunade. Leave me out of it, you brat. I'm old. Tsunade nudged him in the ribs. Oh, you've got some fight in you still, don't you old goat? I'll give you some brownies if you give it a go. On her knee, a giggling Kushina bounced with glee. Tsunade was always happy to give the girls a break and play grandma. I'm in. Isaribi was already standing with a huff, giving Gosu a quick kiss. As you wish, Naruto-sama. Just Naruto isa. Nah. Ru. 2. Of course Naruto-sama. This could be fun, she supposed. Hinata was the first up, clapping her hands together to get everyone's attention. She should have known it would end this way. All right. If you would like to watch, let's head down to the lakeside. Onoka, Karen, let's set up a barrier. Onoka hurried her children off to Kikyo. Okay. Karen was quick to join her, a smirk on her face. What? I hear you're thinking about more. Oh, what big ears you have. They would be having a conversation about this while they set up for sure. Back with the birthday children, Naruto was winking at them as he walked forward to ruffle their hair. Keep an eye out, you might see something cool. Naruto was already dreading this, so you're gonna take it easy on me, right? It was an accident. You accidentally taught my kids fire jutsu? Oh, right. That. No. Realizing she had just been caught doing something else she wasn't supposed to do. She offered Naruto a prayer. Mercy? I'm so beating you like a drum. Naruto gave her a malicious grin before flashing away, bouncing on his toes in the middle of the lake. Mentally, he linked up with Kurama, still connected though the Biju was allowed some freedom of movement. Hey, you want in on this? Nah, I'm comfy where I am. You lazy ass. What happened to the battle maniac I grew up with? You had kids. Blame yourself. I blame you for screwing with my body, or did you think I wouldn't notice that? You had me experience a second puberty, you sadist. Sleepy. Hey. Don't ignore me when you get caught. Answer my you rancid furball. Hey. Naruto was already turning to face where he could see Kurama lazing about with nearly a dozen of his kids. I know where you sleep, asshole. I'll strangle you with one of your tails. Uh-oh, Naruto's burning out already. Sasuke's voice pulled Naruto from his thoughts, looking up to see the group of Sasuke, Naruto, Jiraiya, and Isaribi standing before him. In the distance, he could see Hinata, Onoka, and Karen at the water's edge, before a grand and slightly blue barrier sprung to life. Welp, guess it was time then. The family was already setting up chairs and getting comfortable on the grass. Best put on a good show then. Naruto stretched his arms above his head, bending this way and that. Well, with these rules, it should be a good show at least. Isaribi summoned the Samahata, scales rubbing against one another in excitement and producing an ear-tingling keening sound. Oh no, those rules are just for you. Wait, what? Naruto paused as the group started to spread out, Jiraiya summoning Ma and Pa with a thought. Hold on. Sasuke's eyes switched, burning into his eternal Mangekyo with ease. Oh, you'll be fine. Finally, some payback. I didn't agree to this. Fuyuki's voice carried over the wind, amplified most likely by Kotoheim. Yes, you did, father. Good luck. Oh, for the love of dash, Kubikiribocho was up and over his head, defending against a downward strike from Isaribi. Water sprayed up all around them in a wide circle, before he launched her away with some effort. Seriously. Can I at least use the Rinnegan? Naruto burned through the wall of water, hands trailing fire as she made a trio of clones. No way. A trio of grand fireballs fell on his position, the detonation sending steam high into the air and concealing what was happening. Though the onlookers were treated to Naruto being ejected from the smoke with a fist imprint on her face, I said I was sorry. Naruto burst from the steam, riding on air currents as he skirted the water and dodged through phoenix fire from Sasuke. I'm saving you for last, brother. HMMP, think you'll make it that far? Grinning as Isaribi again appeared before him, they set to work exchanging blows. Kubikiri came around, whistling and trailing vapor only to clash and bounce away from Samahata. Twirling and instead bringing around a downward diagonal slash, Naruto conceded that Isaribi had been working hard. Samahata was once more there to block him with a keening ring, before said weapon was reset and sent spearing towards his chest. Whoop. Flipping over the woman, his downward strike was dodged as she released the chakra at her feet in order to dive into the waters below to escape him. Well shit. And there was Pervy Sage, with more fire, Pa to provide oil while Ma was expanding with wind. Give me a break. I've got brownies riding on the line here, brat. The combination technique left the trio, gouging a furrow through the water that took a minute to refill, while superheated steam rose in the air, nearly clear with the amount of heat saturating it. Naruto was nowhere to be seen. But Jiraiya was already jumping away, a massive Rasengan passing through where he had been. Bigger doesn't mean better, Naruto. Good thing I have both, huh? Another Rasengan formed in his left hand, swirling with what looked like black fire. Ever combined fire and earth in one of these? The attack detonated, liquid magma exploding forth and scattering the combatants for a moment's reprieve. Naruto was there, standing in the middle of the slowly sinking field of fire, though with a harsh stomp earth rose from the bottom of the lake to fortify his little island while he bounced his weapon on his shoulder. And you think you could keep up with me? Sasuke's form snapped purple, a more condensed Susanoo covering his form with ease. Welp, guess it's time to up the stakes. Naruto had to agree, leaking black chakra that began to coat her skin as well. Yup. Tag team him. Isaribi was already dashing forward. I'll keep him busy. Her first thrust was blocked and she shared a manic grin with Naruto. Sorry about this, Naruto-sama. Don't apologize when we're having so much fun. Kubikiri whistled through the space Isaribi used to be, and then Samahata was there, grazing past his chest as he twisted away. A shallow wound opened up and shredded his orange t-shirt, but it healed near instantly. Let's go. Ducking under her returning swing, a palm thrust to her midsection sent her flying away, trailing a rooster tail of water. He always admired that she had no qualms about fighting stronger opponents. He had no rest though, as Jiraiya was once more there with frog-style taijutsu. Faster than he remembered, Naruto was stuck blocking with Kubariki and dodging away when he could, and don't think I don't know what Tsunade's brownies really are. Hands off, you have enough, brat. We could share? More oil, pa. On it. More super-powered fire was born, burning through the space Naruto had been. Jiraiya huffed as Naruto floated above them, a new Rasengan, trailing wind and lightning. The keening wail from the wind was beginning to pick up. Sonny boy, that's a problem. Naruto was forced to stop his latest attack, Naruto in his face, to smash a fist into a blocking Kubariki. Black chakra exploded forth to further knock him away, and Naruto took in his sister's slit eyes. You and that grump come to an understanding? Nope, just some seals, and little regard for that ass. Hands covered in what looked like scales, Naruto noted the dusting of black scales around her eyes. Besides, anything to keep from getting tossed around by you. A roundhouse kick caught Naruto in the chest, sending him away to bounce along the water. Rolling and catching himself, he considered everyone arching towards him before sighing and reaching out with his chakra. Deeper, past where Kurama lay, lower than the Rinnegan, to his very soul. And pulled. Sasuke was the first to race forward, new version of his Susanoo, hoisting his chakra shield and chakra coating his Chikuto. Hurry up, he's planning something. Already did. Naruto was there, eyes shining in a way Sasuke hadn't seen before. Hold this. His fist flashed forward, and Sasuke's technique broke in an instant as he arched away over the lake's surface, like a missile. Touching down on the water's surface with nary a ripple of disturbed surface, Naruto took in his friends and opponents with a smile. Su, give me handicaps will you? Naruto was already shooting his way, wind and fire mixing in her lungs, dragon's fire. A mixture of wind and fire amplified by her beast's chakra spewed forth from her mouth, a wave of destruction that would have flash-boiled the lake if Naruto hadn't stepped in. Which he did, anchoring the Kubikiri in the air with magnet release in order to free up his hands to weave seals into the very air around him. White seals burned against black fire, and then it was gone as if it never was. Kubikiri was back in his hand, body taking on a light glow as he raced ahead. Well, wasn't that cute? Mercy! Mercy! Another punch to her midsection sent Naruto skipping along the same path Sasuke had taken, leaving Isaribi and Jiraiya standing alone before Naruto, who was already bouncing on his toes. So, how about it? Continue? This felt amazing. No wonder Kaguya and her like sought after this for so long. He felt like he could split the planet in two at this rate. Isaribi didn't care that Sasuke and Naruto had been tossed away like so much trash, already coming forward with Samahata mid-swing. Let's do this. Her sword clashed against her lord's. Her arms rattled, her ears rung, and she noted that his weapon didn't even budge. It was like hitting an iron wall. Letting Isaribi dance away, his next swing of Kubikiri tore a hole through the water, sending up a wave that obscured his view. Not that she cared, bursting from the water under his feet and thrusting Samahata towards his face, he watched her weapon trail by, a thin wisp of his chakra being eaten before he reached out into the gap to grab hold of her wrist. Seeing the shock there, Naruto winked at her. You know, Kisame wasn't wrong, you really are amazing Isa. No hitting on my wife. Gosu's voice rang out, much to Isaribi's embarrassment. They hadn't exactly announced they'd be getting married yet. Welp, guess the cat was out of the bag. Naruto chuckled at Isaribi's flush and tossed her away, watching her bounce and roll with her momentum and freeing him up to face off against Jiraiya and the elders. Welp, you ready for this? Pa whistled while Jiraiya sank deeper into his sage mode. Woo boy. You've gone and stepped in it now, haven't you? It's a gift. Naruto swayed with the ebb and flow of the world, before finally locking in on Jiraiya with a smirk. I won't rough you up too badly. I'm sure Tsunade would miss your pretty face. Dropping his transformation in an instant, Jiraiya tossed Ma and Pa his way. Nope. I quit. I really am too old for this. He wasn't about to get beaten like that in front of the grandkids. Nope. Let Sasuke and the others get tossed around like rag dolls. Crossing his arms and cackling, Naruto dropped his connection to the very fabric of reality, with ease. Give him handicaps, would they? Huh. He was the ultimate rule breaker. Now though he was on fire and he needed a different type of fun. Turning and seeing the girls starting to drop the barrier, Naruto flashed back into their midst, scooping up his kids first. How about it, Fuyuki, Ryujin? That good enough? Ryujin bounced up onto his shoulders. That was awesome. You were all huos. Bam. Kaboom. Laughing and rocking back and forth, he was reminded of the man he wanted to be. His dad was just so cool. Fuyuki flushed but nodded. Not in front of everyone, father, put me down. Not that she didn't like the attention, but people were present. They didn't deserve to see this. Laughing and putting the kids down, Naruto clapped his hands, fresh as a daisy, and not at all like he had just been in a battle. Well, that was exciting. Arms snaked around his shoulders from behind, and I wondered when you would show up. I missed something interesting. Can we have a repeat? Let's battle again. You and I, full power this time. Kaguya floated there behind him, all smiles and a slightly less pale complexion at the behest of the Foxden girls. Naruto could already see most of the women shaking their heads. Maybe another day, in a pocket dimension. Pouting but accepting it, Kaguya touched down between Hinata and Anoka. A different sort of match then? Her arm snaked around Hinata's and Anoka's waists. That both women let her and flushed themselves had Naruto grinning. Well. Who was he to say no to an offer like that? Wait. Time out. Jiraiya was there, holding up a hand and grinning all the while. What the world was that earlier? Naruto hummed as Rengoku came to pull on his hand to grab his attention. What did I do? You mean beat you like a dog? He flatly ignored his son now climbing up his back. Already more of the kids were running his way. No, you shameless heathen. That power you tapped into. That wasn't Kurama? Naruto shrugged, left arm now being used as a fleshy jungle gym by Yujito's twins. Oh, that. That would be me bending a portion of reality to my will. Kaguya nodded along with a happy hum, only to be expected of my husband. Here she squeezed Hinata and the others tighter as the crowd began to head back towards the house. Now, about my offer. Jiraiya was sinking to his knees, missing Tsunade coming over to rub his shoulders. Reality? He can bend reality now? Just what kind of BS is that? It's a cheat. It's cheating is what it is. Tsunade sighed and started to drag her husband up the hill. Come now, let's get some sake in ya, and we can forget how badly you got beaten. Does it count if it's against a kami? It doesn't. No, of course it doesn't. Everyone tuned out the Toad Sage's ramblings. They usually started up after a spar with Naruto anyway. With a shake of his body, all of Naruto's kids hanging off of him went flying in mad giggles, to be caught by air currents. Carried off to the respective mothers as Naruto stood there with his hands on his hips. Well, I think things are just perfect. Naruto noted Naruko trying to slink by, receiving her own consolation from Fu. A finger stabbed out her way. Don't think I've forgotten your coming beating. Naruko made a run for it. It's not my fault. I'm just the doting auntie. Naruto gave chase. We agreed no fire before 13. Come here and take your lumps. Mercy. Hinata sighed as she led the remaining group back towards the house. Never a dull moment with the Uzumaki clan. Kaguya hummed sagely, life would be much too boring otherwise. Anoka watched Naruto run off, a twinkle in her eye. Wouldn't want that now. Maybe another set wouldn't be so bad after all. She'd talk to Sakura and Karen later. An explosion rang out, and everyone was treated to the sight of Naruto flipping through the air. I'm just a good auntie. Naruto was there flying after her, a massive Rasengan trailing several multicolored orbs held above him. I'm gonna give you a good beating, you nomad. Yup, all in all, a normal Uzumaki day. Scene change. Sue, where are you taking us today, beloved? It was rare for Naruto to ask all of the girls to leave the kids with the Uzumaki girls and come with him alone somewhere. Rare and usually fun. But his demeanor didn't seem like this was that sort of trip. Hinata walked next to him, eye searching him quietly. Is everything all right? Naruto grinned and nodded along. Of course, things have never been better. Though it was getting late, he had promised that this would be a quick trip. Not something to worry the kids over, though he didn't want them tagging along. Just wanted to show you a project of mine I've been working on. Well, with some help from Ino-chan and Kaguya. That perked Karen's interest. A project? Yup. Super secret stuff. Anoka huffed as Kotoheim put a finger to her lips in thoughts. He's been playing with time again. Nearly tripping, Naruto continued on with some forced confidence. Well, sorta? Kotoheim shared a look with Mei. flashed in by Naruto halfway through the party. Think we should worry? Naruto darling wouldn't bring us to something dangerous. So we should be alright. Mei wasn't worried in the slightest. Naruto was too overprotective to even consider endangering them, even on accident. Kaguya floated above them, the picture of serenity. We are but goddesses before the Great One. All will be well. Ino snagged Hinata and Tayuya both. Come on, this is exciting. We don't take many chances to get away from the kids like this. Puffing out her chest, Ino smirked. Besides, who knows what lurid things Naruto and us can get up to out here. Hinata reached over and poked her friend in the ribs. You've been insufferable ever since you've filled out. Puffing her chest out a bit more, Ino's smirk grew. I told you I'd be your match one day. Feeling catty, Hinata pressed her own chest out, heavy after childbirth. Let's remember, you still have some way to go. Gravity will be your downfall. Hinata actually reached behind her to rub her lower back. Honestly, you aren't wrong. The group finally came upon the altar where Zetsu had once been imprisoned. Naruto, pausing to turn and face all of them at once. So, ready? Tayuya looked around at the others before nodding. Well, Whiskers, what be you got to show us? She was still upset none of the kids had his cute whisker marks. It was unfair. Holding up a hand, Naruto snapped his fingers and the world around them shifted. With a whisper, they found themselves in a wide circular space. Nearly 30 meters across, it looked like a smaller arena built from gray stone. Above them was a bright night sky, full of stars and constellations that none of the Foxden women had ever seen. But it was still bright, even without a moon present. The arena walls around them were lined with doors, all closed with blank nameplates on them. Standing up a bit straighter, Naruto held his hands out to them. So, actually this idea came from Inoheim. Smiling as said woman preened a bit, Naruto continued. I thought about, well, we're all going to be pretty long-lived. Why not go exploring? See the sights from time to time. So, I built this space and these doors. Somewhere in between worlds. Somewhere we can bug off and see new worlds, other dimensions where humanity has taken a different path than us. Karen was already holding up a hand. What was that part about being long-lived? She latched onto the part Naruto had seemed to want to gloss over. Coughing into a hand, Naruto pressed his fingers together as a wave of nervousness passed through him. Oh well. Don't you know how Uzumaki are long-lived, right? Seeing the group nod along, Naruto continued, and that those seals you all have tattooed on yourselves also connects you to me? More nods. So, my experimenting with chakra connections and tapping into the fabric of space itself has kinda augmented my already impressive vitality. Kurama figured with just my sage training and him I'd probably live close to 1,000 years or so, give or take a century. But after my fiddling around, he says I've effectively stopped aging. Ino was already holding up a hand as she could literally feel minds freezing around her, and what does that mean for us? Well, you're connected to me at the soul level. So, you've all quit aging as well. Not to mention some healthy playing around by Kurama and the Matatabi both. Ino took that in, listening to a few of the girls muttering and thinking it over, before bouncing in place once. So, I'm going to be young and beautiful forever, score. Onoka's eye bored into Naruto's own, and the kids? Me and Kurama are pretty sure once they hit maturity, so long as they don't get themselves killed they'll have the same benefits. Naruto had checked that little result right away, not liking the idea of outliving his kids and watching them die. He would have figured out how to turn it off had that been the case. Kaguya hummed and floated down to snag Naruto tightly, a kami-born indeed. So, where shall we go first? This was a conclusion she had seen from the moment they crossed blades, so to speak. Only the strongest could best her. And only another god could best a goddess. Silent up till now, Temari raised a hand. Hold it. Seeing all eyes on her, she pointed at Naruto directly. So we can go anywhere in existence? Seeing Naruto nod slowly, she smirked. Does that mean we can leave people places too? 'Cause if we can find a planet full single women, I'd love to leave Kankuro there. He needs the help. Getting a laugh out of all of the women, Temari sighed. So, they were functionally immortal. That would take some getting used to. Tayuya is worried about one more bit. That does mean, no matter what we do, after a while we're going to have to leave. This world would probably get tired of a family of undying rulers. Naruto nods, standing tall before the others. That's the other reason for this. I figure, when our time should logically be up, we can find new homes for ourselves. Explore, see what the universe has to offer. Give this world a chance to move on without us. And hey, who knows, maybe come back and visit sometime down the line. Stepping forward, Mei had one last question, what about the Otsutsuki? The vicious grin that grew on Naruto's face made something in her quiver in a pleasant way. Oh, I have something for them. Kagaya, we can hunt them down now, right? On your order, my love. We can track them down at your leisure. Kagaya happily accepted the hug from Naruto. So, there you have it. Naruto watched them all with a smile, we're immortal. We can travel through dimensions, and this world won't have to worry about the Otsutsuki for long. Not after I get done with them. Looking around to everyone else, and seeing the gears starting to turn in positive directions, it was Hinata who seemed to sum up their thoughts as everyone turned eyes to Naruto. Grinning in a way she hadn't in a long while, Hinata felt some new excitement reach her heart, so. I guess then, where to first? A vacation home on a different world sounded exciting. Chapter 90. Epilogue start. Cheyenne was not one to balk when it came to fulfilling her duties, no matter how difficult. Uniting her nation and then the continent under the banner of Uzushio was a continuous work of love, but one she was happy to do so. While not every nation was looking to form complete alliances, trade agreements were still good. With trade came money, stability, improvement both of the ruling class and of the peasantry. That said, while demon, bird, and vegetable had long now been allies, some countries had gotten a bit jealous of late. So here she found herself, supposed to be meeting with a representative of wood, only now she found herself in the presence of a rather rancid man in the middle of a coup. Nothing had happened yet, they knew well the rumors of her husband. So she and her daughters were being cared for gently. As for the triplets? All three nearly mirror images of herself if not for their father's striking blonde hair, they sat just as calm and collected as she did. The man, calling himself Genmaki, was leaning forward and rubbing his hands together. Dressed in an expensive-looking suit and sitting in a plush armchair behind a heavy-looking desk, he was assured that things would be going his way currently. As you can see, I've made sure no harm has come to you, but that's only for now. Who knows what can happen the longer this goes on. Looking around the wide office, he motioned to one of the two guards at the door, so you'll be a guest here for the time being. We'll get in touch with that powerful husband of yours and make a deal for ourselves here. I'm sure you understand the situation? Women like her were only meant to be bargaining chips, they had no power on their own. They just represented the power their men had gathered for themselves. Genmaki would use her, and then toss her back to her husband mostly intact when he was done. Cheyenne sighed, refusing to touch the tea provided as she turned bored eyes to the guards behind her. She knew outside this office was almost a literal army of men and women to keep them here as well as prevent any attempts at rescue. You've done your homework, I see. Though not enough. He didn't realize the danger he had put himself and all of his forces in. Genmaki nodded enthusiastically with a wide smile, oh yes. Everyone knows that threatening or hurting the wives of the Uzukage is a death sentence. But, this far away from the capital, his power doesn't carry so much weight. Plus, we aren't unreasonable. We just want a bigger piece of the pie is all. Thinking about how they had been separated in the border town they had been traveling through, Cheyenne sighed as she considered just what her guard would be doing right about now. You won't have time to entreaty with my husband. My guard will be here soon. Cheyenne had nearly refused this particular one, but Naruto had been insistent. Very insistent. Blinking for a moment, Genmaki threw back his head to laugh uproariously, just a single guard? Surely you jest. No, little lady, you just let the big man take care of things. You get to sit there and be the pretty princess that you are. Cheyenne looked left and then right to her daughters, no one outside of the family able to tell them apart except by their eyes. Masako held a left purple eye while the right was blue. Sachiko held a right purple eye with a left blue. While Hanako held fully purple eyes. Naruto's blood ran strong apparently. Girls, you've been paying attention to your lessons, haven't you? Seeing them all nod slowly, Cheyenne smirked, then pay attention to everything that happens next. Well, at least this would be educational for them. Ah, putting on a brave face for the children, how plucky. Genmaki pushed his chair back to stand slowly. You know, it really is too bad. You're rather beautiful. It's no wonder the Uzukage got his mitts on you. Coming around to the front of his desk, he leaned against it with his hands braced on the wood. Though the building shook around them, the lights even flickering and dimming for a moment, What the hell? Cheyenne stood slowly, her girls coming around to her front. Oh, I did warn you. That would be my guard. She was a member of Foxden after all. They never left home without someone capable of leveling cities. And her defender was a bit more fanatical about that task. Though, if your operation had been a bit more quiet, I never would have been here. What? The hell you mean? We ambushed you. Gen Maki didn't like this, his guard he sent out still hadn't returned. The building shook several times in quick succession. Shaking her head, Cheyenne's smile grew. Tisk, TSK, TSK. No. Foxden is always listening, watching. You thought you could take this country and no one would stand up for the people in turn? No. Yuzushio and his people strive for peace. And will always be there to help those in need. They could hear more explosions now, and screaming. A lot of screaming. I allowed you to capture me because it was the fastest way to get to your hideout. Not because you are clever. Behind her the doors blew open, and a manic-looking Deidara in a black and blue uniform stood there proudly. There's nothing to fear, because I am here. Cackling like mad, Cheyenne and the girls ignored the soot and blood-caked walls behind him. Deidara did take note of the look she was sending him however, and calmed himself with a deep bow. My apologies Lady Uzumaki, my response was at least 60 seconds slow. Please, leave this place while I finish the demolition. Cheyenne nodded, turning back to smile at the sweating Gen Maki. Well, that is our cue. Please, give my regards to the Shinigami, will you? Embracing her children, the foursome was gone in a flash, leaving Deidara alone with the failed short-term ruler. Gen Maki was quick to hold out a hand as Deidara reached into pouches on his hips. Wait. We can talk this out surely. I can pay you. Look the other way, let me go. Deidara took a single step forward, a bone-white centipede edging to look through the doorway from over his shoulders. Let you go? No. You've laid hands on one of the chosen. This is unforgivable. I'm going to erase your very being from this world. Now. Pulling his hands free, chakra and clay began to mold and build in front of him. Let's make this flashy for our lord. Lord Naruto always gave him the best missions. Far away and settling down onto firm ground, Cheyenne smiled as she set a good walking pace. Behind her the triplets broke character, smiling and dancing around her as they made for the Uzumaki compound. Oh come on mama. Let us have a go next time. We coulda took that guy. Sachiko was all smiles as they were back home. The triplets had been training with the others every chance they could get. While not fully ninja, having priestess training as well, they still would be a match for any ninja their age. Sachiko wanted to introduce someone to her chakra cannon technique already. Cheyenne shook her head. While you are powerful and talented, your duty is not to fight, but instead to lead and give orders. Your training was for self-defense. In the case you absolutely have to fight. The more reserved daughter, Masako sighed, but we'll never know what we can do if you never let us fight mother. Not that she was itching to do so. But she at least would like to know that her skills wouldn't go to waste. The last daughter, linking her hands behind her as they reached the house, shrugged and nudged both of her sisters. Let's just be happy we're back home. You know what that means, right? All three daughters let their mother get ahead of them, already sighing as they noted the flush on Cheyenne's face. Right? Masako sighed again. Mother really does love father. That's putting it mildly. Sachiko grabbed both her sisters and angled for the town below the manor instead, turning back the way they came. Let's go bug Itachi. I bet Auntie Sakura and Amuro would love a break. Cheyenne turned back to her daughters, waving a finger at them. No causing trouble in town now. And stop teasing little Itachi. He's a good boy. Sachiko was already running and leading the way, Masako and Hanako waving for her over their shoulders. Of course mama. And then they were headed down the hill, leaving Cheyenne to sigh with a hand to her cheek. They grow so fast. Gentle but strong arms encircled her waist from behind, and Cheyenne leaned into the back that was there. Speaking of things that grow fast. Naruto chuckled and shook his head. Things went all right? Do I need to go back and handle anything? The only thing you need to handle is right here, beloved. Cheyenne turned her head and leaned up, kissing her husband softly. Say, I think the girls could use siblings. More, you mean? The more the merrier, right? Cheyenne leaned into him more, kissing along his neck. You won't deny me, will you? Naruto was already picking Cheyenne up to carry her back into the house, all thoughts of work long gone. Your wish is my command. Below them and turning away, the triplets were blushing as they raced away from the house. Sachiko was smirking as thoughts of maybe a younger brother entered her head. Dad really loves Mom, doesn't he? Hanako nodded. Dad loves all of us. Masako gave a rare smirk as she weaved wind around herself. I think he loves me the most out of us. Yup. Come back here, you cheater. And then they were gone, to harass the eldest Uchiha-san for the day. Scene change. Naruto did his best to split his time between his family, kids, and work. Sure, clones were great for the work part, but there were times he needed, or maybe better said, it was more efficient to go in himself. That said, quality time with the children would always take priority over anything else. Even if that was to just cause trouble. Sometimes, the glares and lectures from Tayuya and Hinata were well worth it. Almost. As he sat in his office today while on a vid call from Gaara and Nagato about expanding a rail line between their two countries, he did his best to ignore what sounded like sirens behind him. So, I can have Sandayu send along some spring engineers about the tunnel project and connecting you to Uzushio and Fire's train network. After that, it's the job of the civilian sector. Nagato was smirking, seeing something going on behind Naruto's head. That sounds adequate, yes. Rain has made great progress, thanks to yours and Kanoka's assistance. We would like to keep up this progress. Rain's capital had become less a hodgepodge of reconstructed ruins and more of an actual city. It was a night and day difference that even Conan had been enjoying thoroughly. Gaara, however, was silent as Naruto noted the sirens were getting closer. An eyebrow was raising now as Gaara tilted his head a bit. Should you go look into that? Waving a hand to dismiss any concerns, Naruto chuckled nervously. I'm sure the others can take care of things on their own. So, about soon as major greenhouse projects. I was thinking. Behind him his windows rattled as several somethings blew by. Laughter floated by on the wind, and Naruto sighed dramatically. Those were my kids, weren't they? Nagato chuckled. I did see a lot of blonde and red out there. Gaara was already moving paperwork around on his desk. We've gotten the bulk of the agreements out of the way, Nagato, and I can finish the rest, I believe. Naruto was already standing. Yeah. I'll call you back. Be nice to my nieces and nephews. Gaara's face winked out on the wall screen before Nagato waved and left the chat as well. Left alone to stand and count to 10 in his head, Naruto hoped, prayed, that no one came through his door. That he only made it to 3 before it did in fact bang open was disheartening. Hey there, Yujito. What's the damage? The older blonde was bringing him bad news, but still had a radiant smile on her face. Other than a lot of noise and ruckus? Not much. But they are a disturbance, and the citizens have started taking bets. If you could rein them in? Yujito made it to his desk, smiling and leaning over in her blue on lighter blue tunic. And maybe if you hurry we can have a meeting? Naruto kept his eyes on the prizes and nodding quickly. Sounds like a good idea. I'll catch up to him. My eyes are up here, Naruto. That she reached up to pull her collar open meant nothing. If anything, Naruto stared harder. I've made my choice. Shaking her head and leaning in and up to kiss him softly, she pushed him away. Go on, if you're a good boy, maybe Samui will be here with lunch when you return. That he was already through a previously closed window, now jolted open and swinging, left her shaking her head. She returned to her desk to make a phone call. Falling through the sky with a grin, Naruto opted for more magnet release as he slowed his fall to a more manageable hover. Looking around the busy city and seeing nothing at first, he listened for sirens before making towards the arena. It was nice to float along in the air, weaving around an airship while waving to a surprised-looking captain and deck crew. The skies around Uzushio certainly were getting busy. Maybe it was time to put together some type of traffic control? Shrugging, Naruto could just make out 3 people flying through the skies ahead of him, the one in the lead trailing long auburn hair while the 2 behind her were sporting shorter dirty blonde hair. Oh, Mei's kids. Of course. Taking a deep breath and adding Kam chakra to both his vocal cords and the air around him, Naruto readied himself for a good father scolding. Kami was proud of herself today. She slipped her guards posted by her mother, and even convinced her younger brothers to tag along. Riding on seal-laden surfboards, now made to ride the wind itself, they were having fun while zooming through the skies of their father's city. Not that he'd ever call it that, but ask any of the citizens, and they would proudly proclaim it. Behind her as she skirted just above a residential block where it looked like someone was having a party on the roof, the middle brother pulled up alongside her. Kami. The border patrol is starting to follow us kinda close now. Yelling over the wind was always a hard thing. Laughing and flipping over him, Cammy threw her arms out wide. Oh, who cares, Ken? Our dad is the Yuzukage and our mom is the Mizukage. Who's gonna stop us? Cammy. Ken. Benimaru. You better ground those boards before I catch up to you. Naruto's voice rang out over the air, and all three children looked to see their father gaining on them, and quickly. Benimaru came up on Cammy's other side, short crew-cut hair keeping out of his face. Yeah, should have expected that. Cammy was already pointing down. Go and scatter. He can't catch us all. Without looking, she already dove down to the street level, zooming over the tops of buses and people alike with abandon. Behind her, both Benimaru and Ken looked at each other before looking at their father. On one side, a short run of fun before a possible month or two of lectures and grounding. On the other, stop right away and maybe get away with a warning. It was Ken who was already settling down on a roof. Nope, I'm not looking to get grounded into next year. Benimaru nodded along, coming down next to his brother to sit and watch the show. You said it. As Naruto zipped by above them to chase after their elder sister, a clone settled in between them, resting hands on their shoulders. You gave up quick this time. What's the occasion? Ken shrugged. Cammy's been in a mood lately, figured she needs to talk to ya. She had been more insistent on this run around today. And had been proper moody lately. Mom said it was just Cammy getting older. Ken was sure it was PMS. The clone nodded, sitting down and pulling both boys under his arms, with a grin. Uh-huh. And when are you two going to stop letting your big sister talk you into getting in trouble? Putting up a token resistance, Benimaru sighed finally as he knew his dad wasn't letting go anytime soon. You know how she is. She's got that scary selective hearing gene, just like Mom does. Cammy had yelled at him specifically recently because he asked if he could borrow a manga. A manga? What did she hear? Something about being a brutish gorilla. How do you get gorilla from manga? It made no sense. Ahead of the chatting father and sons, Cammy continued to look over her shoulder for where she knew her father would be. Ducking through dim alleyways and over a bustling-looking entertainment street, she gave a wave to a group of school kids on a trip. They waved back excitedly, but she was already up and over the next set of rooftops on her mad dash for freedom. Until her board stopped working under her and she found herself floating within a sphere of white chakra. Oh come on, old man. That's not fair. This isn't a catch at all. Crossing her arms and her legs as she floated in space, Cammy had to give it to her daddy. This was a faster catch than normal. Naruto touched down on the rooftop he stopped his wayward daughter on. She did look so much like May, down to the way she styled her auburn hair and the figure she was growing into. She still had a long ways to go, but Naruto was going to put a big S sign on the tower, denoting that all his daughters were off limits. Not unless their suitors could best him in combat. But, now wasn't the time for future worries. Now was for scolding. Hand on his hips and face stern in what he had dubbed, disapproving father pose number 1, he kept his eyes on Cammy as she floated and pouted within his barrier. So, anything to say for yourself? I did nothing wrong. So he wanted to have a staring contest, did he? She could play this game. Sighing and lifting himself to float with his daughter, he crossed his legs and got comfortable. Uh-huh. Normally we'd let you kids fly all over the city all you want. Until I heard from even Tsunami that you were buzzing the airships and more than a few fishing trawlers out in the bay. Wanna explain that? Arms still crossed, Cammy turned her nose up to her father as her floating allowed her to turn her back on him. I don't remember doing any of that. Sounds like someone else. Someone else bearing a bright orange jacket with the Uzumaki crest on the rear? Naruto didn't miss a beat, adjusting the currents within the sphere to bring his daughter back to facing him. Okay, spill, what's going on, Cammy? It's just you and me up here. I just wanted to have some fun, that doesn't mean something is wrong. Rolling his eyes and deciding he needed to do something or they would be here all day, Naruto snapped his fingers, taking them away from Uzushio entirely. Dropping his daughter with a yelp into soft grass, Naruto touched down to walk towards a tree on a raised hill. Uh-huh, come on, I want to show you something. He made it a point not to bring any of the kids along during his dimensional shifts. At least, until recently. Some of them were getting older, so he decided they could handle the weirdness of it. Taking in the place they found themselves in, she couldn't see over the hill, but behind them was a wide expanse of thick forests. A peaceful-looking place all things considered, though the air was heavy with something she wasn't familiar with. Was this where Dad ran off to so he could have some peace and quiet? Where are we? Grass? Bear? Chuckling as he came to the top of the hill, Naruto shook his head as he looked out over a sleepy-looking village that sported a rather massive tree sheltering them all. Settling himself down against the tree, Naruto patted the ground next to him. Come on, sit with me. Crossing her arms, Kami frowned. What's this about Dad? Why'd we come here? Kami, sit. Naruto internally chuckled as his daughter hastened to obey, looking down on the village quietly with him. They could just make out people milling about below them, and what looked like a stooped old woman headed their way. You wouldn't know it, but we've actually left our world behind. This is a different Earth. Seeing the incredulous look from his daughter, Naruto waved a hand out. Go ahead, feel the energy here. Reach out with your chakra. I know you've been paying more attention than you'll admit to during your training. Huffing and wanted to deny it, Kami was curious. A different world? Really? Her dad could do this? She did as he asked, reached out and finding a distinct lack of chakra here, but more of that something that made her feel heavy. What? How? Didn't all life need some form of chakra in order to survive? What is that, miasma? Not chakra. It's kinda gross. Naruto chuckled. Like I said, a different Earth. One that grew without the aid of space aliens and mythical chakra fruit. Of course, the fantastical still survives. Demons and the like. Actual ones, not idiots like Kurama. I'll remember that. Remember it all you want, you horny furball. I'm still mad. You've enjoyed my messing around. Remember the other night? Yujito, Samui, Cheyenne? Naruto did in fact remember that night, and also refused to give Kurama any satisfaction in being correct. You're still on timeout. Unfair. Lord Naruto, you've returned again, I see. And who's this with you? The old woman was waving to him, smiling as Naruto waved in return. One of my daughters, Kami. I thought a field trip might be nice. Oh? I didn't believe you when you said you were older than you looked. I suppose the physical proof makes it more believable. Naruto grinned, motioning to the old woman with a hand. Kami, this is Keed. Keeper of the shrine of the Shurkan no Tama. And an old biddy who gets to watch over an upstart punk who sleeps too much. Grunting and sitting down on Naruto's other side, she resisted the urge to pop him in the head. I would appreciate if you could at least pretend to show me some respect, Lord Naruto. I respect you more than you think, Lady Keed. But, to why I'm here. Naruto nodded his head to the village, though his attention was on his daughter. Kami. Yeah, Daddy? I want you to be honest with me. There's no one here who'll talk. What's going on with you? Naruto didn't need his emotional sensing to tell that something was bothering his daughter. More than just trouble with training or family issues. Well, there would be no getting away from this. Kami knew her father was much more perceptive than he let on. Goofball persona aside, her father was extremely good at finding out the details of things. Came with being a seal master, she supposed. Drawing her knees to her chest, the daughter of Naruto Uzumaki and Mei Terumi Uzumaki sighed heavily. How mad would you be, if I said I didn't want to be a ninja? I wouldn't be mad at all. Almost hearing Kami's neck crack with how fast she turned to him, Naruto chuckled and waved a hand to the world before them. Never mind our home. The world is a wonderfully big place. I didn't have you kids training because I wanted you to be ninja specifically. I wanted to train you so that you could defend yourselves, no matter the opponent. That's it. Naruto turned to his daughter, eyes bright as he smiled warmly at her. You want to go be a florist? Or a sailor? Maybe a pilot or entertainer? Be my guest. So long as you're doing something you enjoy and you're safe. The only limit on what you can do is your own imagination. Naruto did pause to consider his thoughts before pointing at his astonished child, though if you decide to tour the world, make sure to check in periodically. Wouldn't want to worry your mother or various aunts now, would you? That's. She had been freaking out for so long. Sure, the abilities she had were cool and useful, but the thought of killing anyone, even by accident. It turned her stomach in a way she didn't like. But her dad was always so happy when he got to spend time with them, train them. She had been sure he'd be heartbroken if she didn't want to do it anymore. You're really not mad? A warm arm wrapped around her shoulders, pulling her into a tight hug. Never. You're an Uzumaki. You're free to do whatever you please. Heck, your sisters from Cheyenne don't practice ninja duties full time, neither does Kaoru. I still love you all equally. Even when you're terrorizing our citizens. Thoroughly chastened, Cammy ducked her head. I'm not sorry about that. Huh, don't sweat it. I used to paint the Konoha monument every time I got bored. Your little flying escapades are nothing compared to that. I'm pretty sure Mom would say otherwise. That's why we aren't going to say anything to her. Your funeral. I can sweet talk her later. Even though Naruto had his own brand of sweet talking, sans the talking. La 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 la. I don't need to hear that. Gross daddy. Cammy was up and dancing away, hands against her ears as Naruto laughed long and loud. Levering himself back onto his feet, Naruto shared a wink with Kid. So, same time next week? You keep visiting me, but you never say why. What does a demon lord like yourself want with one like myself? While she was grateful for Lord Naruto's visits, it did keep the demons far away from the village. It was still unnerving to know one so powerful had an eye on them. Naruto put a finger to his lips. That's a secret. Snagging his child by the collar, he did have to lay down some bad news. And you? Don't think you're out of trouble just yet. You ran when I told you not to. Aw, come on daddy, you caught me didn't you? Engaging the ever-faithful puppy dog eyes, Cammy was sure her father wouldn't be too harsh. Well, maybe. There had been a few close calls. Tell that to Tayuya when we get back. Naruto flashed them back home, already new plans in mind. Left behind, Kid looked out over her village. What an odd demon. Scene change. Kuratsuchi was having a good day. While Iwa was not the powerhouse it once was, she was finding that all of her ninja with suddenly an abundance of time found other hobbies to indulge in. If anyone had asked her if she saw her village being a center for clay and ceramic art, and a new flair for strong rhythm-based dances, she would have laughed right in their faces. And yet, here they were, nearly 15 years later, and a new uprising of the arts was upon them. Not just artists, but nobles and lords from all over the nations were coming to see what local artists were coming up with next. She would attribute it to Iwa's known persistence through any and all adversity, and not because a certain blonde had forced them to change. That said, as she sat behind her desk with a glass of amber liquid in hand, she considered the newspaper for the day. So the air dancers were making a tour of the elemental nations, were they? Stone's capital was even listed as a destination. Maybe she could make the show herself. And she can smile, how about that? Naruto's voice cut through the empty air of the office with ease. Yet, Kuratsuchi saw no need to lose her good mood. I'm surprised you've made an appearance, it's been a while. Pouring another glass all without looking, Kuratsuchi passed it over the desk with ease. Accepting the whiskey, Naruto grinned and leaned back in the other chair. I was out and about, thought I'd pop in. Heard some good things lately. You're even getting along with Gaara. Purely rumors. Oh, of course. Yes, of course. They sat there in silence, Kuratsuchi reading her paper while Naruto was content to watch the world turn by outside the window. Part of her was curious why the Yuzukage was here, bothering her during her lunch break, but another part of her she found just didn't care. He had kept his word. He left them alone so long as they adhered to the terms of their surrender, and they were happy now to do so. The rest of the world could fight and die over pitiful reasons. Iwa would endure and adapt. You know, as far as rumors go, there's another I've been hearing lately. Care to hear me out? Do I have a choice? Everyone has a choice. Naruto turned bright blue eyes her way, and Kuratsuchi snorted. Go ahead then, what's this rumor you've heard? She'd play along. She had nothing else to do for now. Naruto took another sip and enjoyed the burning sensation in his throat. There's this Team C. Formerly of Lightning even before its destruction. Apparently one of their members can steal bloodline limits. Naruto shrugged as Kuratsuchi finally turned to face him. Now, I'm not saying you're courting them. Not at all, but you might want to check in on your daimyo. See what the old codger is up to. Kuratsuchi eyed Naruto patiently. What was this? A trap? No, he wouldn't need to do such. If he wanted them dead, they would be dead. Was this an olive branch? Why come to me? It's your turf. You should have first crack at it, don't you think? Shake the dust off if you want. I can send a team after them if you don't want it, though with your daimyo involved it might get ugly. Naruto honestly didn't care. Those old men served less and less of a purpose as time went on. Koyuki would happily see most of them roasted over a fire as well. A team from Lightning, huh? I'll look into it. Far be it from her to look a gift horse in the mouth. Kuratsuchi pointed at the blonde. You're not here for anything else, are you? Not at the moment, unless I need to be. Got something you want? From you? I can be nice, you know. I don't think I want your brand of nice. That's a lot of women to compete with. Kuratsuchi smirked at the hangdog look that crossed Naruto's face. That was rather satisfying. I'm not so depraved that I'll jump every woman I see. No matter how hard rumors tried to paint him out to be such. Kuratsuchi hummed non-committally before deciding to give some information she had overheard as well. He was being nice, so she supposed she could be as well, you know. There's a new group being whispered on the wind. Researching ways to overtake Uzushio's power and influence. Something about androids and synthetic souls. Can't pinpoint where they are, but I believe they hail from Rain. Well, wasn't she feeling generous? Naruto kept his smirk to himself. I'll have a chat with Nagato, and we'll look into it. Naruto finished his drink, setting the glass down gently, and standing. I'm glad you know. That we can talk like this. Oh, I still hate you. Kuratsuchi once more enjoyed the sour look on Naruto's face, and instead smiled in her own mysterious ways, but I suppose I can tolerate you for now. In all honesty, she didn't harbor such strong emotions towards him anymore. Time and self-reflection had done wonders for her over the years. Naruto grinned while leaning on her desk. I'm starting to grow on you. Like mold. Objectively, Kuratsuchi could admit, if he wasn't such a monster, Naruto was a good-looking man. They both turned as the door to her office opened, a well-dressed Suzumabachi walking in with a collection of folders. Lady Tsukiji, I have the trading reports from Dash. Looking up and spotting the muscular form of the Uzukage standing over their Kage, Suzumabachi blinked quietly before making a smart 180. Sorry for disturbing you, my lady. And then the door was closed quickly. Kuratsuchi turned irritated eyes to the man at the center of chaos. I blame you for everything that is going to happen to me. Yeah, my bad. I normally seal up the door when I pop in. Naruto knew rumors would fly now between them. And none of them would be good. Want me to put some fear into him? That would only make it worse. Kuratsuchi sighed before deciding it didn't matter. It wasn't like she was going to be dating anytime soon anyway. And the people couldn't really care about what she did with her personal life anyway. Go away, before you cause more trouble. Welp, till next time, Kuro. And then he was gone, leaving the Tsukiji alone. Whose thoughts were already gearing up to tackle the problem of her daimyo. Was that bastard hiring ninja behind her back? What for? A coup? An attempt on the Uzumaki? She needed to find out, now. Which meant her lunch was over. Time to face the music, she supposed. Scene change. B considered the board in front of himself, nearly as long and wide as he was tall. Shogi was not his usual game to get into. But with all his free time and nothing to do, it was so far the only thing he and Gyuki could sit down together and do. It was already a miracle that the Biju was back to talking with him, so he wouldn't push his luck. The ground trembled under his feet as he considered his next move, and he ignored it. Watching his former container make a move, Gyuki was quick to make a counter, steadfastly doing his best to also ignore the rhythmic tremors picking up speed. You've been well? Has Naruto come and visited you at all? B shrugged, noted more of his pieces lost as the ancient Biju was once more going to trounce him at this game. Once or twice so far. But he promised on his last visit to swing by more often. We'll see, I suppose. Another small mercy. Naruto had been willing to leave B to rot in his misery, but it was Gyuki once more who asked for a favor. They didn't talk about anything in particular, though B considered that he was using the visits as a reason to run away from his various wives. Lucky bastard. Maybe you should go back to rapping. Maybe that'll entertain him. Don't really have the mood for it anymore, but maybe one day. The ground shook once more, and B finally sighed heavily. Couldn't they take that somewhere else? Does it have to be here? Concentration broken, Gyuki was left with no choice but to know exactly what was going on over the hill where Kurama and the Matatabi were enjoying their new temporary bodies. Why don't you two go bother someone else? 3 days. They had been at this for 3 straight days. Kurama's voice carried over the winds, rhythmic thumping refusing to let up. We were banned from the city. Matatabi's yowls paused for a moment, apparently catching 2 Biju going at it is traumatizing for normal humans. Muttering that it was traumatizing for them as well, Gyuki considered his former container. Want to try again? Bee sighed and nodded, anything to keep his mind off of what was going on a few hundred meters away from them, anything to stave off this boredom. And to keep his mind off of the horrors he had been forced to witness already. Nope, he did not want to think about weird fusion kits between ancient fox and cat demons. Nope. That way led to horror and mind-breaking realities. They were chakra constructs. They weren't supposed to have genitals anyway. Why would Naruto give them working parts? Kurama made a mental promise to be nicer to Naruto for a long while after this. This was the best stress relief ever. Matatabi looked back at him over her shoulder, you better be ready for another few days of this. Yes ma'am. Life was good. Scene change, Minato was honestly very impressed with his son, all things considered. Capturing the souls of Orochimaru and Obito purely to bargain with the Shinigami to release his and Kushina's souls from his gullet. Well, it was certainly better than sacrificing someone else for the task. And now they got to enjoy the heavenly afterlife with ease. Kushina got to spend time with her family and watch over the revived Uzumaki clan, while he got to relax and check in from time to time while catching up with Rin. Sure, he had to ignore Kushina's favorite pastime, but that was something else entirely. He loved his wife dearly, but she could be terrifying when angry. Who said leaving a 5-year-old alone in an apartment was a good idea? He couldn't even cook for himself, you old bastard. Kushina's voice rang out from over a cloud bank, while several meaty thwacks followed. Biwako sat next to Minato, looking through her own little space in the clouds as Naruto watched over several of his children while sparring. Kushina is in good form today. That is your husband, isn't it? Aren't you worried? Biwako took a sip of tea quietly, he brought it on himself. He was safe, wasn't he? I couldn't play favorites in the village. Hiruzen's voice called out, only to almost immediately be drowned out by more screaming. My baby lived alone for more than a decade, you shit. You could have let Makoto adopt him like we planned. Hell, even Tsume would have done a good job. By the kami, you could have sent him off with Tsunade if you had wanted to. You can't talk your way out of this beating. More sounds of violence and carnage followed, while Rin giggled as she watched over Kakashi and Shizune. They looked rather happy at the moment. You know, maybe you could pop in, convince your son to slow it down a bit? That's a lot of kids. Rin leaned over Minato's shoulder, watching Naruto swat his kids around the training yard with ease. He's a monster like you, sensei. Well, he does take after us both, you know? Minato chuckled and scratched at his cheek. Even he was starting to think Naruto might be going overboard a bit. What was he trying to do, repopulate the entire nation himself? Mercy. Please, mercy. Mercy is for the weak, you raggedy old lech. How about a chain enema? Minato hung his head and sighed, deciding maybe it was time to try and reason with his hot-headed wife. Cupping a hand to his mouth, he raised his voice a bit, Kushina dear. I'm pretty sure one of the girls might be pregnant again. Kushina was suddenly hanging onto his shoulders, looking over his head at the scene below them. Who? Maybe Tayuya-chan this time, or maybe Karen-chan? Eyeing the scene, Kushina sighed, oh, it's just our boy swatting around our grandbabies. Why tease me like that? Rin reached up to pat Kushina's arm, actually, Anoka might be pregnant again. Kushina's eyebrows disappeared into her hair, that woman really needs to tone it down. Wasn't 5 at once enough? Rin shrugged, she went for it again. Full fertility drugs and enough energy drinks to give a hippo a heart attack. Well, she gets points for effort and enthusiasm at the least. Kushina settled in, leaning more into Minato's back as they sat together in calm silence. They had to give a lot of thanks that they could even do this much. Being able to peer into the mortal realm and see their child and his offspring. It was a gift they would cherish. Feeling like causing trouble, Rin relaxed back into her own cloud. You jealous at all that Naruto pulls so many women while you're stuck with the hothead? Minato didn't even miss a beat, my Kushina is my light and stars. I wouldn't trade her for anyone else in existence. Besides, she fills my heart completely, I don't need more. Wiggling in place, Kushina was up and dragging Minato away, that's the correct answer. And for putting me in such a good mood, I'm gonna put you in a good mood, you delightful idiot. Shaking her head with a smile as Minato gave her a thumbs up as he was dragged away, Rin turned to see a slightly irritated Biwako staring at her. Was I that obvious? Yes. Well, Kushina still needed to blow off some steam. Honestly, children these days. All you think about is rolling around in the sheets. Why, in my time, in your time, families were very common to have 5 or more children. Coughing into a hand, Biwako made sure not to let Rin see her flesh. Things were different. Sure thing, Oba-san. Sarutobi dragged his way towards his wife. I need a healing or 3. Biwako sighed and stood to help her husband along. More like you need to apologize properly. She'll beat you eternally if you let her. Best to drag him off somewhere quiet where they could watch over Asuma and his child. Let Minato and Kushina make noise in this particular corner of the afterlife. Rin scored a point for herself and grinned, turning back to her cloud. Now, where is that Kakashi? I need to confirm something. Scene change in a dark corner of Yuzushio. Underneath the Chinoite clan's main home was a meeting of some of the strongest men on the continent. The topic of the evening? How to survive the future. Iruka tossed a shitty hand of cards away, leaning back in his chair as Naruto's pile of chips continued to grow. You know, I love Anko, really I do. But the woman doesn't understand that normal humans need sleep. Rest. Recuperation. He really did love his wife and her need for cuddles. But while his will was strong, his flesh failed him. Kakashi snorted, upping the ante with a hidden grin. Sounds like you need to get back on your training school, teacher. You knew what you signed up for. Kakashi certainly wasn't going to complain about his own love life. Shizen was more than enough for him, and the proof that things could be worse was sitting at this very table. Bag under his eyes, Gosu sighed and nodded along. Desire a fierce woman, be ready for fierce consequences. Isaribi was such a bubbly and outgoing woman who publicly was easily approachable and fun to get along with. But at home? He had a trail of bite marks all along his left arm that were both fresh and old under his jacket. He might as well get them tattooed on at this rate. What was it with women and biting things they liked? Naruto chuckled and raised Kakashi, eyeing his royal flush with all the confidence of a man who knew better. Couldn't have said it better myself, Gosu. Though, I think I'd kill for some real, full night's sleep. The last remaining member of the table, Yugo, wondered once more what he was doing here. Lord Naruto is perhaps too good at what he does. Is it too late to become a monk? Take a vow of celibacy? Naruto felt like he could almost hear feminine screaming in his ear that sounded strangely like his mother. Nah. That'd be crazy. Iruka pointed a finger at his former student. What was it Kakashi said? You knew what you signed up for. I signed up to rebuild my clan and my city. Not attempt to repopulate it with my own legion of children. Besides, it's the girls at this point who keep dragging me into new debauchery. Naruto smirked as he laid his cards out. Read 'em and weep, boys. Groans all around the table as Naruto raked in even more money. Yugo felt a tickle on his senses. My lord, are you avoiding any work at the moment? Avoiding would mean that I was supposed to do it in the first place. Naruto shrugged and steadfastly refused to think about work or responsibilities at the moment. All my work in the office is complete. No important visitors are coming to bug me, and the city isn't on fire. I can relax. Plus, there's a clone at the desk for emergencies. Kakashi chuckled as he could see the gears beginning to work through Yugo's head. Does that count when your wives can tell the difference between your clones and you? Naruto had led more than a few of the women on a merry chase all over the city at one point or another. It was fun to watch. The stronger than he needed to be young man suffered well for his success. Well, maybe? Was that how they could always track him down? When had they figured out that particular skill? Hey. Kurama's chuckling entered Naruto's mind, giving him the answer he needed. I'm going to get you back, you furball. Maybe, but I'm having fun either way. To think I let you out weekly to have fun with the Matatabi. Maybe I should quit that. Have a heart. This is harmless. My sanity is at stake. Don't be a pansy, you'll be fine. Also, heads up. Pulled from his thoughts, the room was bathed in bright light as the only door was forced open. Looking over as he could hear Kakashi sigh heavily, they were all met with a grinning Anko who had an arm slung over an equally grinning Tayuya. Behind them, he could just make out what looked like Ino as well. Anko pointed at Iruka dramatically. Husband. Your services are required. Looking around the card table for help and finding none, Iruka nodded and stood. Yup, guess that's that. Same time next week? Kakashi raised a hand. Sounds good. Naruto was already making his way to his feet. You and Anko should not be allowed to be friends. Eyes on Tayuya, he allowed himself to be dragged away. Tayuya took one side while Ino took the other, leading them up and out of the basement. We have a bet to settle. Come on, to home we go. Anko cackled as she dragged Irika along. Remember, 24 hours. No more and no cheating. Naruto shared a look with Irika. Good luck. Considering the context and the leers the girls were sending them, Naruto didn't have to ask what they were about to endure. That's your department, I'm going to pray to the kami. The slap on the ass from Anko barely even registered, so used to her by this point it didn't faze him. Back inside the men's poker room, Gosu shared a look with Yugo and Kakashi. Should we continue, or make a run for it? Standing and stretching, Kakashi shook his head. Yeah, that's a no. Shizune may look meek, but she'd hunt me from here to Suna if she had to. Plus, why would he run? His wife was hot. Scene change, Naruto relaxed as he floated in the hot spring alone for the moment. A few of the girls had convinced him to take a trip with them, finding themselves back in the land of hot water once more. They wanted to get away, even if the world was always just a thought away. So here he was, under the stars and soaking in aromatic waters that warmed him down to the bones. He didn't have long to himself, a cuddly Hinata sliding into the water on his left easily. Good evening, beloved. Hey Hinata. Eyeing her up and down for a moment, Naruto grinned and kissed her softly. Enjoying the feel of her body against his, he pulled away and settled back down. To think, I used to be so blind to how much you really loved me. Hindsight, dear. Doesn't make it easier. Never does. Ino was next to slide to his other side, cuddling into his chest with a content sigh. This is just what the doctor ordered. No kids, no responsibilities. Just a fun evening for themselves. What did I miss? Nothing yet, just thinking about the past. Naruto went back to watching the stars, wondering how many of those stars held worlds much like their own. How many countless others were looking up into the void just like he was, pondering their place in the universe. Smirking and wheedling a finger into his side, Ino knew what to bring up. Oh, like when you couldn't get the hint that me and Hinata had the hots for you? Or maybe Hinata's stalker phase. I wasn't a stalker. I just loved from afar. Yeah, stalker. Ino-chan. Just calling it like I see it, sis. Ino laughed as Hinata splashed her once. At least you weren't a raging fangirl. Hinata nodded at that. True, but Sakura did get her man in the end. So did you. I wasn't a fangirl of Naruto. That was you. I remember it differently. All your brains went to your tits, that's why. Naruto squeezed both girls, quieting them and exuding a calming aura. Enough of that, I think. We're here to relax and rest. Let's not get catty. Two new voices joined them, Tayuya and Karen sliding into the water to on opposite sides of Hinata and Ino. I don't know, Whiskers, we could get a little rowdy, see where it takes us. Karen sighed and leaned into Hinata as Tayuya and Ino set about putting on a show of wrestling like old times. To think even now, they're still gorilla mode. Hinata nodded, it's in their nature. Ino turned back to wink at Naruto while making a crude gesture near her mouth. Oh, I'll show you what's in my nature. She couldn't ignore Tayuya suplexing her into the water, tossing both of them into the murky depths. Oh, did we miss the festivities starting already? Shall I join in? Kagaya had no shame in walking about in the nude. She knew she was perfection, why worry about what others thought? Behind her, Mei and Anoka sighed and led a curious Tamari, Yujito, and Samui along. You can try to be a little humble. Humble is for those who are not greatness. We are, thus, we have no need for it. Kagaya delighted at the feel of the hot waters on her skin. It was such a delight to be alive once more. Now, dear husband, about more children. She was also here for another type of mission. She had yet to join the childbearing group and it was time to change that. Watching the chaos begin to unfold, Koyuki shook her head as Cheyenne closed the door behind them. Yeah, I'm not getting into the middle of that. Cheyenne giggled as clones began to be made, carrying girls off either for back massages or other more daring requests. This is the Uzumaki way, isn't it? Yup. Koyuki smiled softly as she considered the man walking up to her to sweep her into his arms. It certainly is the Uzumaki way. Naruto grinned from his relaxed place in the water, Hinata still cuddled into his side as things began to ramp up around them. Ready for another adventure, Hinata-chan? Nodding away, Hinata wouldn't say no to another adventure. Where you go, we'll go, beloved. Now and forever. Great. Naruto raised a hand to point at a star, smirking and miming shooting it. Let's make a nuisance of ourselves then. They had plenty of time to do anything and everything they could think of. Might as well work through it all a little bit at a time. Starting now. But first, I have need to impregnate a goddess. Scratch one more off the old bucket list. The end.